Chapter 31 Absolute Learning and Disadvantages. Yes, you are good. You are the first to let me bleed since the great achievement of martial arts. As you let me know that there are still people in this world who can hurt me, I let you see my true strength. The aura on Lu Biyu's body continued to gush, and during the period of speaking, he was abruptly put on a layer of golden red and radiant essence armor, and the tiger and leopard cloud patterns on it were clearly visible, as if Lu Biyu was really wearing this layer of armor. Seeing this scene, as long as it is not a fool, they understand that Lu Biyu has definitely not exerted all his strength before. Looking at Lu Biyu, who is walking in the air, the soldiers of Hulao Pass do not know who shouted General Mighty, followed by cheers one after another. Lu Biyu's existence, as estimated by the coalition army, for the morale of Dongzhuo's army is simply terrifying. Liu Bei's face was obviously worried. He always thought that his second and third brothers were enough to dominate the world. But now, as long as he is not blind, he understands that this world is big. At least now Lu Biyu is frantically venting his strength, relying on his extremely powerful strength to suppress all the warriors in the world, and can only be looked up to. Lu Biyu relied on his super powerful attack ability to suppress Guan Yu and Zhong Fei. Guan Yu can also see that the previous blow was not powerful enough, but did not hit. I don't know what technique Lu Biyu used to crook his slash, and the blood on his body was also rejected when he was tilted crooked. Knowing this, Guan Yu once again regained his confidence. Lu Biyu was not strong beyond imagination, although extremely powerful, but it did not reach the level of treating the two of them as nothing. Confidence is a good thing, but Guan Yu obviously estimated one thing wrong. That is, Lu Biyu did not rely on any skill or technique to crook his attack, but really smashed him with all his might, and Guan Yu's strongest blow did not reach the point where he had to avoid. Fang Qian's halberd dance is flying up and down. At a glance, the three of them are surrounded by halberd shadows, and from time to time there is an extra blue light or black light. It is obvious that even if it is 1-on-2, now the young Guan Yu and Zhong Fei are not Lu Biyu's opponents at the peak moment, and the powerful and flamboyant Lu Biyu has completely controlled the situation by relying on his superhuman strength. Guan Yu carried Lu Biyu's attack while scolding secretly. He had made up his mind, if he could not kill the other party in one blow in the future, he would never use the unique skills he had developed himself, especially against masters. As long as he did not kill the other party after using this trick, he would die himself. Lu Biyu's light swords and heavy swords alternate with each other. He can guarantee that the black-faced Zhong Ida is absolutely injured, and the red-faced Guan Yu with a machete is not much better. Zhong Fei vowed that he would definitely learn the art of light swords and heavy swords when he had the opportunity in the future, since he thought that Lu Biyu was going to fight him hard several times in a row, and he fought hard with all his might, but he smashed on Lu Biyu's Fang Qian halberd, and the opponent's Fang Qian halberd seemed to have no weight, and borrowed his strength to directly slash towards his second brother at ultra-high speed, and then the viscous air that was clearly visible, as well as the explosive sound, all made Zhong Fei understand that that blow could definitely hit tons of damage. Guan Yu already wanted to scold people, but his red face made Lu Biyu unable to see Guan Yu's mind at all, but he really couldn't help it. Lu Biyu's super heavy blow, he ate one. After the Qinglong Yangyu knife almost got out of hand, he understood that his eyes had to be bright. If he took another one head-on, he would definitely be seriously injured. Lu Biyu became more and more relaxed, and he had a feeling that the weight change won by betting with an old man had been used, and he had even been able to play skills. It can be said that now, as long as he wants 50 moves, as long as he has 50 moves, he is sure to defeat these two guys. But what makes him jealous is that he has already felt that at least two masters of the internal chi separation level are pointing at him with bows and arrows. As long as he dies, the other party will definitely be shameless. Brother Yun, you can't go up yet. Chen Shi is not a fool. It is obvious that now the golden red light has squeezed the blue-black light into a circle. It looks like it can be swallowed at any time. He wants to scold people now. Lu Biyu is too ferocious. Wait a minute. The strength of General Guan and General Zhong is constantly rising. They are probably the first time they have encountered this situation, the first time they have been suppressed, and if they break through desperately, their own strength will also grow desperately, and it is the best time to work hard before the age of 40. Zhao Yun held the bright silver spear tightly, ready to rush up to the rescue at any time. He had already seen that Guan Zhong and the two had entered a decline. Zhong Fei's brain was already blank, like the so-called selfless realm of some kind of exercise. Of course, this was a joke. Zhong Fei didn't think about anything now, so he stared at Lu Biyu's Fang Qian painting halberd. Guan Yu can be better, although his strength has dropped to 90% of the usual because of that Zestrong's blow, and he still can't resist Lu Biyu before, but I don't know if Lu Biyu suddenly changed his nature or what's going on. Anyway, now 70% of Lu Biyu's attack is greeting Zhong Fei. Guan Yu didn't know what's going on. Lu Biyu knew. Lu Biyu wanted to scold people, to say that he was stronger than Guan Zhong and the two of them combined. This is true, but not much stronger. But fortunately, Guan Yu came up and put a big one, and then entered a state of weakness, which is the reason why he suppressed the two of them. Once Guan Yu regained his breath, Lu Biyu knocked that breath off without saying a word, and then cut it twice. forcing Zhong Fei and Guan Yu to defend, and as a result, the battle that could have taken hundreds of moves to determine the winner was abruptly pressed by Liu Biyu to 50 moves. And now Liu Biyu no longer cares about Guan Yu. Zhong Fei's snake spear is getting heavier and heavier, and the most important thing is that Liu Biyu clearly knows that this is not a skill like a heavy sword at all, but the brute force of this black charcoal head is constantly increasing. Thinking of this, Liu Biyu wanted to scold people, and he had seen a lot of breakthroughs in battle, but the increasing strength of the battle was not normal at all. The most important thing is that Zhong Fei's strength is becoming more and more abnormal. Liu Biyu opened the heavy sword technique and Zhong Fei to the death, from the beginning can repel Zhong Fei, and now Zhong Fei can also fight back with the heavy sword technique. Is this really human power? Liu Biyu's heart has already begun to roar. Liu Biyu disdained to use skills to kill Zhong Fei. He had confidence in himself, and most importantly, he wanted to know how powerful this barbarian was. He was really curious. As for Guan Yu, let's get back to breathe. Anyway, he basically found out the bottom of Guan Yu. Except for that kind of super blow, the others are really nothing. Even if he recovers after a while, it's nothing to come over and attack him. Anyway, he has beaten this black charcoal without much combat effectiveness, and it is a matter of 50 or 60 moves to come back and clean up Guan Yu. Chapter 32 Zilong also got it. Those who have seen natural divine power, like Guan Yu, who can play with more than 80 pounds of Qinglong Yangyu knife without internal energy, can already be regarded as natural divine power. People like Wu Angua, who rely on internal energy to play with hundreds of pounds of sledgehammers, are also born with divine power, but there must be a limit to natural divine power. Liu Biyu himself is a natural divine power, otherwise he would not be able to play the Fang Qian painting halberd made of meteorite iron. But now Zhong Fei's power has given him a shock. Is this really human power? Liu Biyu said that he had aroused interest in research, and he planned to catch this guy back to raise good wine and food, and study it carefully. What did this guy eat to grow up, and he was so powerful? Zhong Fei's strength is still growing, just like Liu Biyu's internal qi. He has never stopped when he opened the valve. The strength is getting bigger and bigger, and even the exposed muscles can be seen trembling and expanding slowly. Zhao Yun looked at Zhong Fei curiously. He just thought that this guy was quite strong before, but as far as he saw now, this was no longer ordinary strong, and the muscles surging on Zhong Fei's big arm had almost caught up with his thighs. Sichuan, don't worry. If General Zhong has maintained his current strength, it will not be easy for Liu Biyu to take down General Zhong in a short period of time. This power is enough to ignore most of the skills. Now if Liu Biyu dares to use his half-bucket of waterlight sword technique, his Fang Qian halberd will definitely fly out. Zhao Yun looked at the nervous Chen Shi and explained with a smile. Probably impossible. I probably understand what is going on with the third brother. Brother Yun is ready. Chen Shi said with a wry smile. He remembered that Zhong Fei had said that he and the second master both had a trick to press the bottom of the box, and now this abnormal increase in power is 9 out of 10 Zhong Fei's trick to press the bottom of the box. Zhong Fei is already numb. He doesn't care about any tricks. He is enlightened. For Liu Biyu, any of his skills are scum. He can be compared with Liu Biyu is only one. That is, strength. His strength is stronger than Liu Biyu. Knowing this, he has confidence. His father told him, fighting, if the strength is not as good as the person, then use the skill. The skill is not as good as the person. The speed is used. Anyway, as long as these three are dominant, it is still okay to run if you can't beat it. Of course, if it is not as good as it, then avoid it from a distance. If you have to fight, don't think about living. With the determination to die to have a way to survive. Chen Shi guessed right. Zhong Fei used indeed the unique skill of pressing the bottom of the box. Well, although this was Guan Yu told him that he had developed a trick before, and then Zhong Fei felt that the second brother had a trick, and he was going to make a move, so he researched this trick, a way to stimulate the muscles to burst out with stronger force, although he had used this trick on pigs before. Although Zhong Fei didn't use it, the pigs he used to study were almost catching up with him during that time. Well, Zhong Fei felt that he had successfully researched this trick, so he killed the pig and ate it. Later, when he bragged to Guan Yu, he said that he had also developed a trick. Of course, Guan Yu had no idea what Zhong Fei's trick was about. Zhong Fei didn't know how ruthless his move was. This was completely squeezing muscle strength, restricting the transmission of certain nerves, and destroying the body's instinctive protection system, which is why Zhong Fei's strength grew unlimitedly. And after the body's instinctive protection system completely disappeared, even an ordinary person without internal energy could play tons of power. Bang! Liu Biyu retreated, driving the art of heavy swords. Riding a red rabbit, Liu Biyu was repulsed. Although it was only a small step, Zhong Fei had already seen the hope of victory. He could feel his strength constantly rising, and it was definitely not a problem to shoot Liu Biyu to death like this. Liu Biyu's face was a little ugly. He was repulsed. Only he repelled others. No one else repelled him. Liu Biyu was a little confused when he encountered this situation for the first time. You're angry with me? Liu Biyu reacted. His eyes were blood red. He roared frantically, and the arrogance on his body was connected. and Fang Qian's halberd seemed to smash down with the majesty of heaven and earth. Boom! There was a loud noise, followed by a huge air wave, dusty. The dust cleared. Lu Biyu sat on the red rabbit horse, opened the distance, glanced at Guan Yu who was protecting Zhong Fei, and Zhong Fei, who was sitting on the horse with blood on the horse, sneered, "I thought you were really growing power with no upper limit, but it turned out to be such a ridiculous ending. Your body can't bear that huge power at all, it's really ridiculous." The audience was shocked. Guan and Zhong, who were originally evenly matched with Lu Biyu, actually seriously injured Zhong Fei after Lu Biyu got angry. "Let me finish you off." Lu Biyu laughed wildly and waved Fang Qian's halberd towards Guan Yu. He had already seen that Zhong Fei had lost his combat effectiveness, and now all he had to do was harvest. He had seen the strength of Guan Yu and Zhong Fei, very strong, but only very strong. "Changshan Zhao Zilong, please teach me." Zhao Yun came out with a gun with a helpless face, and it was really the first time he did it for a group of people. Lu Biyu licked his lips and gave up Guan Yu and Zhong Fei directly towards Zhao Yun. "Group fighting. Will battle is nothing to Lu Biyu at all. From Bingju to Luoyang, from Luoyang to now fighting against the princes of the world, who dares to go head-to-head with him? He is invincible in the world, and he must kill the master. This is his principle all along." Zhao Yun is a master, Lu Biyu knows very well, but he knows better that any master is a scum against him. He has the confidence to defeat all the masters in the world, whether it is Wen Yang, who claims to be a famous general in Hebei, or Guan Zhong, who has basically been defeated by him. They are all masters, but they are facing Lu Biyu. Zhao Yun's gun was very fast, and with Lu Biyu's eyesight, he could only see silver rays. He never thought that someone's gun could be so fast, and the gun flowers flying all over the sky made him feel a little shocked. Too fast, just like seeing Zhong Fei's power before, it was so shocking. The silver-blue aperture and the golden-red aperture were constantly squeezed, and neither side could swallow the other, so they could only maintain the center line. Lu Biyu didn't dare to play that kind of half-baked light and heavy sword technique anymore. The little white face on the opposite side picked up the opportunity to use his light and heavy sword technique and almost left a hole in his body. Lu Biyu wanted to scold his mother in his heart. That old man didn't say that this skill was not a martial arts wizard. If you want to be proficient, you have to have 10 years of merit. And the roundness and flawless that can be used in the world today are all old men in their 70s and 80s. Lu Biyu put aside that half-baked skill and began to fight steadily. He didn't believe that this little white face could be so strong. Chapter 33 Forced to Pretend to be Helpless. Oi! Zhao Yun's gun-flower dance is all over the sky. At first glance it is indeed very fierce. In fact, only Zhao Yun himself knows, this is completely forced. Lu Biyu's ferocity made him have lingering fears. Compared to skills, Zhao Yun found that his proud skills seemed to be 1/2 pound and 8 taels with Lu Biyu. Compared to strength, compared to the strength of internal chi, Lu Biyu threw him a few streets no problem, and then looked at the horse under his crotch. Zhao Yun felt distressed for a while. He used to bite the horse opposite his own horse, but this time he was bitten by the red rabbit, distressed. How to fight this? Zhao Yun was thinking about this question when he came up with a gun, and finally compared himself and Lu Biyu, and found that it seemed that even if Lu Biyu was fighting Guan Yu and Zhong Fei, he would have a good chance of winning against Lu Biyu one-on-one. Zhao Yun understood that Lu Biyu's halberd technique was not reshaped. Once Lu Biyu was angry, or enjoyed the battle as enthusiastically as he is now, even if half of his internal chi had been consumed, he could still be murderous. To defeat Lu Biyu, unless you break Lu Biyu's confidence and let him no longer have this invincible momentum, if you fight for a long time, Lu Biyu may maintain the level of the first day of the first month, and even there may be a situation where he fights more and more powerfully. This is a dead cycle. Okay, Zhao Yun's handsome face appeared with a wry smile. Okay, since it's a dead loop, then take it off. Zhao Yun has made up his mind not to fight Lu Biyu. Let's compare endurance to speed. Zhao Yun continued to maintain a super high speed, and the front looked like it had become a hedgehog, with spear tips everywhere, and no matter how the rounded spear was twisted, in the end the tip of the spear turned in the direction of Lu Biyu, and even Guan Yu, who was breathing on the side, saw Zhao Yun's gun barrel twisted 3 or 4 arcs to Lu Biyu's side. How did this exert force? The gunshots did not stop from Zhao Yun. Lu Biyu and Zhao Yun almost danced their weapons, but so far the two sides have not collided, just staring at each other's vital points, giving each other a ruthless blow by seizing a certain opportunity. Zhao Yun continued to accelerate. He felt that Lu Biyu seemed to have adapted to his gun speed, and needed to be improved, but don't be countered by the other party. Zhao Yun had found that he really couldn't beat the guy on the opposite side, and he was a little helpless, and at first he felt that he had a 30% chance of winning, and the more he fought, the more he was shocked, and now it was even 10%. Zhao Yun estimated that he might not even have 10% if he hit it again. To be honest, Zhao Yun now has the thoughts of Lu Biyu when he looked at Zhong Fei before. What did this guy eat to grow up? However, unlike Lu Biyu who wanted to catch Zhong Fei back to study, Zhao Yun had no idea of catching Lu Biyu's research at all. he had already begun to frequently signal to Guan Yu that he wanted to come up and help, but unfortunately Guan Yu did not understand Zhao Yun's thoughts at all. In his opinion, the two sides did not distinguish between victory and defeat. Why bother to stir up the situation? Let this amazing battle continue. Lu Biyu stared at the little white face in front of him with fiery eyes. At the beginning he thought that as long as he fought steadily, he could overturn this little white face, but now he suddenly gave birth to a kind of guy. Will this guy be the master he has been waiting for to upgrade if he kills it? Thinking about it again, Lu Biyu suddenly felt that it was very likely. How could others have the strength to fight head-to-head with himself for such a long time and still not win or lose? Suddenly Lu Biyu was fanatic. He had come to the end. Even if King Xiong climbed up from the Wujiang River, Lu Biyu estimated that he could beat him down. Kill, kill, kill. After having this idea, Lu Biyu became more and more excited the more he played, and his momentum became more and more majestic, and in an instant, the marksmanship that originally felt a little elusive was cracked by intuition, and then before Lu Biyu's momentum continued to rise, he felt that Zhao Yun's gun was fast again. Lu Biyu was still bombarding Zhao Yun. Zhao Yun also silently used his unique skills. The gun speed was getting faster and faster. The original time to stab one shot, Zhao Yun was already able to stab 2 shots, but even so, Zhao Yun still had no way to deal with Lu Biyu at all. He could only watch Lu Biyu's momentum continue to rise, and he was no longer able to suppress Lu Biyu's momentum. Dong Zhuo's army in Hulao Pass and the coalition army of the 18th Root Princes were dumbfounded, and Lu Biyu's ferocity had been proven in the previous battle, and Liu Bei's brother Guan Zhong could compare with him, and Lu Biyu, who defeated Guan Zhong, was already like a god in the eyes of the coalition army. As a result, another one jumped out from behind Liu Bei. This one was directly tied with Lu Biyu. Damn it, your Liu Xuanda's face is too good, all good things are yours. Liu Bei looked at Zhong Fei with a worried face. As for the jealous and envious eyes around him, he had completely ignored it. Since listening to Chen Shi's words, Liu Bei realized that in this troubled world, not to mention the jealousy of others, even if these people present were hateful and wanted to kill him Liu Xuanda, as long as they didn't have this ability, they could only endure it. This era was not a prosperous era that emphasized benevolence and righteousness, but a troubled world that relied on fists to work hard. Zhao Yun finally couldn't point the gun directly at Lu Biyu's vital point without touching Lu Biyu's Fang Qian halberd, and the first real collision appeared since the two sides fought. Unlike Lu Biyu's horror and anger, Zhao Yun was helpless, taking advantage of Lu Biyu's horror and lightly knocking on the tip of Lu Biyu's halberd to instantly distance himself from this dangerous element. General Guan, help me. Zhao Yun yelled. There is no need to play. He signaled to Guan Yu for so long before, and it had no effect at all. Guan Yu was puzzled. Why did Zhao Yun and Lu Biyu fight for so long without distinguishing the winner, and let themselves rush up to help before they showed a decline? What is going on? Guan Yu still shouted, "Don't panic, Zilong, come to Yun Chang." Then he waved the Qinglong Yangyu knife and slashed at Lu Biyu. I'm going to kill you. Lu Biyu clamped the horse's belly, angrily killed Zhao Yun. He was played. Strange had to fight with him, actually had no speed and no strength. If it weren't for the accidental collision before, found that Zhao Yun's internal qi was quite weak, and the strength was weak. Otherwise, even if he kept fighting, Lu Biyu couldn't find that Zhao Yun's strength was so weak. It's really troublesome. Zhao Yun had no choice but to stab at Lu Biyu with a spear. The tip of the halberd, the tip of the spear collided, and there was no direct blow away of Zhao Yun's weapon that Lu Biyu longed for. On the contrary, the power transmitted from the tip of Zhao Yun's spear was as surging as a wave, and the layer upon layer was actually not weaker than him. However, Lu Biyu did not go back to repent at all, saying that he would kill you if he killed you. He had made up his mind to kill Zhao Yun. Dare to play with me, I will kill you. Lu Biyu held such a creed and slashed at Zhao Yun angrily. Zhao Yun steadily resisted Lu Biyu's crazy attack, and the original gunflowers also turned into a little bit of cold light, blocking Lu Biyu's attack deadly, and did not retreat with one blow as Lu Biyu thought. Boom! With a loud noise, Zhao Yun and Lu Biyu were separated at once, and during the time Guan Yu killed, the two fought hard again like lightning and thunder, and Zhao Yun, who went all out, did not miss the slightest disadvantage by relying on a momentary bloody battle. But Lu Biyu's long-term attack was unfavorable, but he doubted his previous feelings. Chapter 34 Dong Zhuo and Li Are You. Once Lu Biyu doubts his cognition, then his strength will begin to decline, and even as his strength declines, he will doubt his ability even more, and then he will enter the second dead cycle. Zhao Yun won the bet, and strong self-confidence brought strong strength, so once confidence declined, it would naturally take away every trace of power. Lu Biyu entered the second dead cycle, and once a crack cracked in his perfect self-confidence, he could no longer stop it. Crazy, angry, irritable, wielding Fang Qian's halberd and fighting angrily Zhao Yun and Guan Yu, but unfortunately it is becoming more and more powerless. But Zhao Yun and Guan Yu's cooperation is becoming more and more tacit. Zhao Yun counters Lu Biyu's attack, Guan Yu accumulates momentum, and cuts out a perfect arc with a knife. Boom! With a loud noise, Lu Biu finally felt that the internal breath he had never been short of could not be supplied, and his never-inexhaustible physical strength was almost exhausted at this moment, and for the first time he felt heavy from the Fang Qian halberd in his hand. "I'm Lu Biu." Lu Biu slashed at the two of them angrily with scarlet eyes, completely ignoring the huge flaw in his upper body. "Die for me." Guan Yu's Qinglong Yangyu knife waved a large circle, and the tip of the knife hit Lu Biu's Fang Qian halberd. Zhao Yun didn't express much about Guan Yu's behavior, but his hands did not slow down at all. Chirping tilde a series of birdsongs, Zhao Yun's whole person was gradually shrouded in firelight, and a huge phoenix flapping its wings appeared on the battlefield. Boom! The phoenix flapped its wings, the line of fire passed, and the phoenix, which condensed Zhao Yun's 70% strength, directly enveloped all the range that Lu Biu could escape, which was the strongest move he could use now. 100 birds to the phoenix, it was 100 shots, and it was also a shot. The power of 100 moves relied on special means to press the last shot. Of course, this is just a legend. Zhao Yun knew very well that he was more familiar with this move than his teacher, but he could only make the last shot have 12 or 13 times less than 15 times the power, but it was enough for him. Lu Biu was embarrassed, but he was still alive. The armor on his body had basically been shattered, not hit by the phoenix's beak, but by the phoenix's phoenix feathers. The red rabbit horse was worthy of being the BMW of the world, and dodged the strongest shot at the last moment. If it weren't for this, Lu Biu would definitely have lost half his life now, after all. The city wall behind him had been opened by this move with a transparent hole the size of a shrimp bowl, and the arc was as smooth as a mirror. Zhao Yun, who was silently adjusting his breath, looked at Lu Biu with flickering eyes after the dust cleared without the slightest hesitation, and once again used 100 birds to the phoenix. A phantom phoenix had not yet taken shape. Lu Biu turned the horse's head without the slightest hesitation. In his opinion, it was estimated that he would really stay here if he continued to fight. Kill. The first time Lu Biu pulled his horse away, when neither Dong Zhuo nor the coalition army reacted, Liu Bei directly jumped out of the horse. He kept in mind Chen Shi's words, and when asking for Dong, he must remember to be in the limelight if he can be in the limelight, which is the future fame. Kill. Liu Bei leaped out of his horse, and the others were stunned and reacted, not letting Liu Bei be monopolized in front. He was a relative of the Han family. Zhao Yun silently raised his gun and rushed towards the Tiger Prison Pass, and Guan Yu also dragged himself half dead. Zhong Fei had come back to life, although the blood was extremely hideous, but it was obvious that he had come back to life, and he drove his horse to the Tiger Prison Pass desperately, and he shouted while running, "Dong Zhuo is closing, kill Dong Zhuo, and the world is peaceful." Dong Zhuo was startled and turned around to go down, but was directly stopped by Li Yu. In Li Yu's view, no matter how fierce a single general is, it is far inferior to the soldiers who form a battle formation. Dong Zhuo's face darkened. The previous battle shocked his face like earth. Where has he seen such a ferocious battle since the uprising of Shiliang? The two sides fought in the dark. Once one rushed up the pass, it would inevitably rush to him Dong Zhuo, and it would definitely not be able to be stopped. Thinking like this, Dong Zhuo's face was like earth, and he stretched out his hand and directly pushed the weak Li Rui aside, and went directly down to the Tiger Prison Pass without looking back. Li Yu was stunned for a moment, looking at Dong Zhuo's trembling back. A kind of desolation emerged from the bottom of his heart. When did he Li Yu also reach this level? As for the top masters like Guan Yu and Zhong Fei, almost as long as they make a move, there will be more than 100 archers with internal energy to snipe with all their might. Guan Yu tried to rush, but more than 100 arrows covered all parts of him, and the Qinglong Yangyu knife danced into a ball but did not stop it all, relying on the internal energy to block it for a moment, and was actually shot in the left arm by a hidden arrow. A slaughter is over. Li Yu is not a fool. He does not have the habit of putting his safety on the generals. He prefers to rely more on his own ability to settle everything. After repelling the Kwantung coalition army, there was a burst of cheers at the Tiger Prison. To be honest, Li Yu was indeed good, and he was very good at bringing out soldiers from Shiliang. These are the reasons why the soldiers of Shiliang are not afraid of death. Being a soldier is to have a full meal, and Li Yu did it, and no one has ever dared to deduct military pay from his hands. He understands better than anyone else that only force is everything in troubled times, and everything else can be obtained by force. Li Yu sat decadently on the stone slab of Hulao Pass, without a bit of the literati demeanor he showed before. He had never sat in the corner so indifferent to his identity before, but now he was tired, and he was tired the moment he was pushed away by Dong Zhuo and fell. Military division. Jiao Shun clenched his fists and said, "The coalition forces have retreated. Let me calm down and be respectful." Li Yu said with a gloomy face, and Jiao Shun stood behind him, motionless. After a long time, Li Yu looked up at Jiao Shun and said, "You are the general I admire the most under Lu Biu. Do you think we will lose? The danger of Hulao, the wealth of Luoyang, and the elite of our army, the coalition army will be defeated. Gao Shun said categorically. It will be defeated. A bitter smile appeared on Liao Yu's face. Yes, you will lose. Gongjing, you guard here. Liao Yu got up and staggered down the tiger prison pass. I don't know why Zhou Shun looked at Liao Yu's back and felt a kind of bleakness called heroic twilight. Liao Yu walked to the government hall set up in the tiger prison, listening to Dong Zhuo's roar inside, and Lu Buqiang said that this time it was just a careless defense, and he couldn't help but feel very tired. After entering, he found that all but one of the generals who came to the tiger prison this time was sitting in their respective positions, and Liao Yu sat calmly on the head of his left hand, but this time it was Li Su who did it behind him, not the fat and rich Jioshu. Go back to Chang'an. I guess he won't even go back to Luoyang. Sure enough, he has a better grasp of people's hearts than me, Dong Zhuo. Alas. Liao Yu sighed secretly, no longer having too much hope for Dong Zhuo. Chapter 35 We Need to Recruit. Guan, Zhong, and Zhao are now completely treated as heroes. One moment the leader gives a seat, the other moment the princes give wine, and the next time they hand over a large piece of meat. The three people, including the weak-looking Zhao Yun, are all non-refusal. Zhong Fei is wearing a bandage, pouring wine in big mouths, sometimes for the sake of boldness. The wine is sprinkled on the wound. This guy actually continued to be blind without frowning, and the same meat came and stuffed it into his mouth, and it became a bone when he strooped it, chewed it twice, and swallowed it with a mouthful of wine. 3 rice buckets. Chen Shi rolled his eyes. How can he eat so much? He did not refuse those who came with his arms, and he was very bold. Xuan de Gong's subordinates are full of heroes. Under the great victory, even a great Confucian like Kong Rong was a little dissolute. After all, in this era of martial arts, any merit was not as good as military merit. Brother Wenju laughed. After all, Xuande is taking the path of a military general, and Wenji still needs Brother Wenju to take care of it. Liu Bei held a wine bowl, looking very happy, drank a bowl without the slightest faucet, and sat down with a smile. Easy to say, easy to say. Kong Rong touched his beard and said with a smile, turned his head to the strong general behind him and said, Angua, and thanked the 3 generals Guan, Zhong, and Zhao. Then Kong Rong turned to Liu Bei and said, Zhuandegang, this person is my general, thank you for my kindness back then, and vow to repay it with my death. I have owed a lot over the years, and this time I thank Zhuandegang for saving my life. This is a loyal and righteous person, and it is Xuande's duty to save him. Why should Wenju be like this? As soon as Liu Bei heard the kindness of Emil, he vowed to repay it with his death, and since then he has a good impression of Wuan Kingdom. Loyal and righteous people have their own protection from heaven. Well, Chen Shi couldn't help but shrink back when he heard this. Why did Liu Bei look a little like a god? The camp was staggered, and everyone forgot their previous worries under big victory, as if Luoyang was in sight, and the king of Qin succeeded. Even Yuan Shao, who died his uncle a few days ago, pointed to the sky and shouted that he was incompatible with Dong Zhuo, was touted by everyone to get carried away. Sure enough, looking at this situation, you know that Yuan Shao is unreliable. Chen Shi looked at Yuan Shao, who was already intoxicated with the fantasy of great merits and did not want to wake up, and was no longer interested in him. Turning his head to look at the tent, sure enough, Cao Cao was not intoxicated at all, but had already begun to talk to Guan, Zhong, and Zhao, and the Xiahou brothers also sat aside and pushed cups with Guan, Zhong, and Zhao, drinking happily. Turning sideways and looking at Sun Jian again, he was looking at the shapes and colors of the princes with an expressionless face like Chen Shi, or he had begun to think about whether it was better to go it alone than to follow Yuan Shao, who made his blood boil. After all, Yuan Shao's behavior was a basin of cold water for him, chilling his blood. Turning his head to look at Liu Bei, sure enough, in addition to communicating with Kong Rong and Dao Qian, his eyes were also looking at other princes from time to time. But it was obvious that the place where the most lingering eyes were the place where Guan, Zhong, and Zhao were drinking. Chen Shi didn't know how he returned to Liu Bei's camp. Thinking about the situation at that time, Chen Shi estimated that 9 out of 10 people in the main camp were carried back, and then think about it. If Liu Biyu made another sneak attack last night, it is estimated that the coalition army would be dead. The generals were basically drunk, and the princes, except for Cao, Sun Liu, were basically wiped out. Thinking of this, Chen Shi was in a cold sweat. Yuan Shao, don't pit me if you want to die. Think about it again, drink really and sincerely make a mistake. In the future, you must remember that you don't dare to drink too much when you are in the barracks. As long as you don't drink big, your thinking is sober. Even if you encounter trouble, you can give it a try, if you die in the chaos for no reason. Chen Shi's face turned into a pot. Zichuan is awake. After Chen Lan had just groomed Chen Shi, Liu Bei's voice came in. Xuan de Gong, she drank and made a mistake last night, which is rude. Wearing a moon-white silk dress in a sassy bag, Chen Shi asked a little tiredly. Even if Zichuan is drunk, he still remembers to drag the preparations, and he must arrange the camp defense. Liu Bei said with a smile. With this sentence, Chen Shi breathed a sigh of relief. Sure enough, people who are afraid of death are always afraid of death, and when they are drunk, they also remember that Li Yu and Jioshu opposite are very dangerous. Fortunately, Xuandagong must remember to let the three generals Guan, Zhong, and Zhao take turns patrolling, and there is no loss. Once Lu Biyu sneaks up, there are really not many people in the entire coalition army who can have time to raise the alarm. Chen Shi said with a wry smile. Sichuan doesn't have to worry about Lu Biyu anymore. Zilong has already stated last night that Lu Biyu's current invincible state of mind has been shattered, and it is difficult to recover in a short period of time, and even if he does not erase the shadow of this failure, he may still regress, of course, Zilong also said, and it is also possible to go further. Liu Bei explained to Chen Shi and began to listen to it, but the last sentence made Chen Shi extremely frightened. Lu Biyu is already strong enough, and finally the wheel battle, the group fight is started before the general is taken. If he becomes stronger, he will not live. I hope Lu Biyu will regress, even if he returns to his original level, don't make any progress, that guy is too strong. Chen Shi sighed and said, I think we still need to recruit some top generals to form a luxurious lineup. Let Lu Biyu come to the street once and beat him every time. Chen Shi gritted his teeth and said, he had an impression of the famous generals of the three kingdoms, and he knew the general place. Liu Bei couldn't understand every word of Chen Shi, but he still understood the general meaning. Recruiting talents was indeed very important, especially after seeing a supermaster like Lu Biyu directly defeat Guan Zhong. Liu Bei's mind about recruiting talents was heavier, but now is not the time. After Dong Zhuo knew Lu Biyu's current situation, his disappointment and dissatisfaction were all written on his face. He took a fancy to Lu Biyu because Lu Biyu was an undefeated myth, and now Lu Biyu was defeated, and the first time he lost would be defeated the second time, so naturally Dong Zhuo's emphasis on Lu Biyu dropped a lot. Thinking about the three guys opposite, Dong Zhuo felt that the Tiger Prison Pass, which was known as a natural danger, was not safe at all, and he suddenly felt that the territory he had always wanted to expand had no value at all, and these places not only could not give him safety, but also gave him a lot of trouble. Thinking about it, Dong Zhuo suddenly thought, why not move Luoyang back to his hometown? His hometown is like an iron barrel, the danger of Xiaohan, how good the situation of Western Qin is, why suffer here? Go back to your hometown, do whatever you want, it's all your own place. When he thought of it, he did it, and Dong Zhuo ran to Liu and asked Liu, we are now moving to Luoyang, turning back to Chang'an, and sitting on the danger of Xiaohan, can I live better than I am now? Liu was stunned for a moment, looking at the tall Dong Zhuo standing in front of him, with a hopeful look, and all his anger disappeared. Chapter 36 Feelings. I am a nail in the door. Oi. Didn't you just push me? Sometimes the Prime Minister has a bad temper, but it doesn't matter, ha ha ha, the Prime Minister is still ambitious, still staring at the throne, and the courage is still there, abandoning the entire Luoyang Fushou like a shoe, throwing it out to let the Kanto princes bite the dog, and finally woke up. Liu was ecstatic. What decadence, all dissatisfaction disappeared. As long as Dong Zhuo's ambition remained, his ideals would fall. Liu completely misunderstood Dong Zhuo's thoughts. What is better? It is not Liu thought at all. Now it is above 10,000 people under one person, and in 2 days, he will go further and directly kill one person. Well, this is a wonderful misunderstanding. The excited Liu is terrifying, especially when Dong Zhuo made a very domineering decision to give up the entire Luoyang, and Liu's entire shackles were released. Since the Prime Minister is willing to give up Luoyang, why not give up the Jade Seal as well, and throw the entire Luoyang, which represents the huge Han regime, and the Jade Seal that is known as the supreme position to the Kanto rats? Liu was excited at first, and then worried that Dong Zhuo was just a hot mind, so he deliberately tested it. Obviously, Dong Zhuo hesitated. Luoyang was lost. Anyway, things were emptied, and it didn't hurt to lose it. Yushi's words were said to represent the supreme position, and it was not comparable to a Luoyang that was emptied. The Prime Minister wants to live a better life. Leaving this thing out is the right way. The Han dynasty has lost the Jade Seal of the country. Whether it is orthodoxy is not a matter of one sentence, and the princes of the Kanto region cannot be of one mind. One Jade Seal is enough for them to split into several small groups, and then the dog eats the dog, and in the end it is powerless to advance westward. Liu was still advising. To be honest, Liu did not hold Dong Zhuo's hope of leaving the Jade Seal. This was just a temptation. Dong Zhuo could hesitate. It means that he really thought about this problem, and a proper strong man broke his wrist, which is a manifestation of great courage. Seeing the hesitant Dong Zhuo, Liu was suddenly ecstatic, and finally woke up after waiting for so long. Dong Zhuo hesitated for a long time, looking at Liu with a solemn face. He felt very strange. What the hell is going on with this guy? Forget it, or ask me what I want to know. When you say I don't want the Jade Seal, how long can we be peaceful in Yongliang? Dong Zhuo asked the question he was concerned about. He now wanted to have an birthday. Yesterday's scene really scared him. Luang's wine emptied his body. He no longer had the original ambition, he just wanted to get by and enjoy his good life. Xiangua. Li Ayu's voice had a hint of tremor, and these words were asked, that is to say, if necessary, he would really give up the jade seal, which is no longer what ambition and courage can describe. This is a proper imperial spirit, and with such courage, I am afraid that it will not be possible. Li Ayu thought about it carefully, and finally looked at Dong Zhuo with bright eyes and said, Xiangua, if the jade seal is operated properly, not only can the alliance of princes be broken, but as long as the Hanggu Pass is blocked in the next 5 to 8 years, it will be difficult for us to enter the world, and such a long time is enough for us to be strong enough to defeat the princes of the world. The jade seal is just a jade in the hands of Duke Xian. Dong Zhuo didn't have much of a *** for the jade seal, and the Shiliang Wufu, who had not received orthodox cultural education, didn't understand what the jade seal represented in Li Ayu's heart at all. In Dong Zhuo's view, there is an emperor, there is force, and it is the same thing to carve a seal with a slab brick. Qin Shi Huang used his Shebai to carve a jade seal is just a carrier, and it will be gone, and then he will carve another one. How good it is to have a birthday in 5 or 8 years. Especially Li Ayu said that he can also defeat the princes of the world. This news is important. Dong Zhuo is no different from a little ** now. He was beaten, and he couldn't beat others, and he was afraid to hide home, and now a smart person told him that as long as you leave out the candy you don't like, those bastards will rob it and beat their heads to bleed, and you will come back in a few years to want to step on whom. Of course, Dong Zhuo definitely didn't believe it when ordinary people said this, but Li Ayu said Dong Zhuo Xin. This guy said whatever he said, he never saw a loss. Okay, the jade seal is for you, you can do whatever you want, I'm tired, don't ask me anything recently, you can watch it yourself. Dong Zhuo said to Li Ayu with a little hideous smile on his face. Li Ayu looked at the little smile on Dong Zhuo's face, and naturally thought that Dong Zhuo was comforting him and asking him not to have psychological pressure, and then heard that Dong Zhuo was tired and didn't ask anything, and he was even more sad in his heart, when he needed Dong Zhuo to make such a big sacrifice. Confucianism will go all out to repay the favor of the Prime Minister. Li Ayu bowed to Dong Zhuo's bleak back, and his heart was on fire, not to Dong Zhuo, but to the princes of Guangdong. Dong Zhuo went out with a puzzled face. Why was Li Ayu so grateful to Dade? He actually bowed his head. What shocking thing did he do? 3 days later, Jioshu, who was hiding in Chang'an and fishing for meat in the bronze cauldron, received a message from Li Ayu, and the whole person was in a state of revenge. Nima, Dong Zhuo really made Li Ayu's *** successful, using Luoyang and jade seals as bait. This Nima is too courageous. I want to scare my father to death. Wasn't he almost emptied of his ambitions by wine and wealth before? Why is it that as soon as Lao Tzu left, this guy was excited? Should it be so scary? Jioshu's old servant watched his master roll around with his head on the ground in the hall, and hurriedly went to get the medicine and helped Jioshu up. Jiofu, do you think that a bastard who has been exhausted by wine and wealth can become very courageous in a few days? Even bold and majestic can be comparable to Qin Huang. Jioshu said with a depressed face. Jiofu lowered his head and did not speak, did not participate in anything, just served Jioshu. This is what he had to do. How could there be such an evil thing? Could it be that Lao Tzu is a mourning nail? Jioshu reluctantly thought that he could get to Dong Zhuo in the past because he was optimistic about Dong Zhuo, but as soon as he left, Dong Zhuo began to fall, and before he ran back to Chang'an because he was not optimistic about the current Dong Zhuo, he was ready to pick up and quit, but as soon as he ran away Dong Zhuo regained his ambition, and he was brave. Jioshu did not suspect that Li Ayu was joking. One is that Li Ayu is not only a little ruthless, in fact, his character is still very strong, and the other is also this kind of thing is impossible to joke. Whether it is to give up Luoyang or give up the jade seal will shock the world at that time. Especially the jade seal, as long as it is really released by Li Ayu, no matter how secret the person who gets it is at that time, it will go viral all over the world in the end and make everyone known. Thinking of this, Jioshu was depressed. Chapter 37 All Dream Camp. The coalition army and Dong Zhuojuan have a routine offensive and defensive battle every day. The coalition army can't fight. Dong Zhuojuan doesn't want to fight. Just drag it alive. It seems that Yuan Shao has completely forgotten what he said before, that he and Dong Zhuo are incompatible. He has now mixed enough fame. Of course, if he can win the Hulao Pass to Luoyang, then it will really be famous all over the world. Chen Shi looked at the blood-stained Hulao Pass. The siege battle was so cruel, and people fell every day. Zichuan, how long do you think we will be able to reach Luoyang if this continues? Zhong Fei asked with a depressed face. The last time he suffered a heavy blow has now recovered by 90%, and according to Zhong Fei himself, there is also the feeling of Guan Yu and Zhao Yun. This guy's strength has actually increased by a section. It's coming soon. Dong Zhuo sitting on the head of the city hasn't seen him for several days, and I think Dong Zhuo's army is going to abandon the pass and flee. Chen Shi said calmly, by the way, third brother, what do you think of Lu Biyu?
Lu Bu.
Zhong Fei's face was a little disgusted, but then he scratched his head. To be fair, he is indeed a master, but his character is very unhappy. What's wrong with Sichuan? I'll start with a full fantasy lineup, and the basic requirements are at your level.
Chen, she said expressionlessly.
This is estimated to be very difficult. Your third brother is also a master no matter how I say it, and he counts the head with his fingers. Zhong Fei raised his head with a lonely expression of a master. I was almost beaten to death by Lu Bu.
Chen, she rolled his eyes and said,
Sichuan, let's not talk about Lu Bu's character. That is, Lu Bu's own power alone will make it difficult for us to recruit.
Zhao Yun quietly appeared behind Chenxi and said, So you don't mind if we try to recruit him?
Chenxi looked sideways and found that not only Zhao Yun, but also Guan Yu and Liu Bei were there. Lu Bu is indeed a hero. If Sichuan wants to try to recruit, he can give it a try. Liu Bei opened his mouth and gave a letter. In his opinion, this kind of shadowless thing, if it didn't have much impact, as long as Chenxi was willing to do it, he wouldn't mind wasting time. On the other hand, Li Yu was correcting the documents according to Dong Zhuo's request, and after this batch was done, according to his estimate, the tung oil was almost arranged, and the rest was to sweep away all the treasures and money, and then revealed a message to lure all the Guangdong rats in, and burn them half to death. Li Yu looked at this memorial, thought for a while, took a blank imperial edict from the side, filled in some things at will, and then covered it with a jade seal. Then he casually threw the memorial aside and continued to review the next memorial, and now Li Yu is really in power. Under the light, the memorial clearly wrote that Kong Rong, the governor of Beihai, and Dao Qian, the governor of Zhuzhou, jointly recommended Liu Xuande, the prime minister of the Han clan and Ping Yuan, as the governor of Taishan County, and then a lot of compliments. Li Yu relied on the intelligence system in his hand to know that Guan, Zhong, and Zhao were all Liu Bei's subordinates, so he naturally had an interest in recruiting this kind of powerful general, and now that the prime minister has delegated power to his hands, he naturally has to conscientiously consider the prime minister. Maybe this line is not used now, and after a few years, the power of the world will be out of Hanggu, and now many idle chess can be used by then, and Liu Bei happens to be the chess pieces he is optimistic about.
Who are you?
Lu Bu looked at the little old man sitting at his house drinking a little wine and asked strangely. I'm just a person who sent a letter, and someone asked me to send you a letter, saying that it was to thank General Lu for his actions in Bingju, so I gave this letter to you. The old man stood up and took out a letter from his arms and handed it to Lu Bu. Lu Bu was expressionless, but the struggle in his eyes was difficult to hide. He took a deep breath and took the letter from the old man's hand, and said to the servant behind him, Give him some money to send him out of Luoyang.
Thank you.
The old man bowed and walked out quickly. Opening the envelope, Lu Bu quickly browsed through it, and then closed the letter in surprise, holding the envelope and writing the shock in his heart directly on his face, stretched out his hand to shake the entire letter into powder, and said to another servant, Call Wen Yuan to come and discuss matters. The next day, Li Yu ordered someone to inform Lu Bu to dig up the imperial tomb in Luoyang and collect his treasures, but Lu Bu said that his injuries had not healed and did not agree. Li Yu frowned slightly when he heard the news, but did not force Lu Bu too much, but asked Li Yu to go to excavate the imperial mausoleum, which was an out-and-out fat difference for Li Yu.
Li Wenyu, you really dare to treat me like this?
Lu Bu locked himself in the inner room, roaring angrily. He remembered what the letter said, that once he excavated the imperial mausoleum, he would be completely marked as a traitor and thief, and it would no longer be possible to whitewash him, and the entire Han family would not really accept him. Thinking about the fact that Li Yu said in the letter would set fire to the entire Luoyang, even Lu Bu felt frightened. How many people would be displaced? He didn't dare to imagine how many people would be displaced. Isn't fighting the Hu people in Bingju just to ensure the safety of one side? If this fire goes down, the entire Luoyang will be over for millions of people.
General. Zhong Liao stood at the door and shouted loudly. Wen Yuan, how is the matter I asked you to check?
Lu Bu asked with a gloomy face. The whole of Luoyang has been arranged with tung oil, and if I hadn't gone out of my way to investigate, it might still be in the dark. Zhong Liao said with a resentful face. What does Li Yu want to do? He wants to burn Luoyang and move the capital to Chang'an.
Lu Bu said calmly. What?
Zhong Liao shouted, and then everything was connected like a line. Fengxian, what should we do? There is no good way. It is estimated that as long as we overreact a little, the children of Bingju will be cut off from Luoyang, and Shurong will be transferred back. Lu Bu said with a gloomy face. Now I can only take one step at a time. I just pushed off the errand to excavate the imperial mausoleum. Li Yu has always doubted us. Fengxian, let's go back to Bingju after this time. The sons are waiting for us. When we get there, we don't care about these bullshit. we beat our Hu people, and they robbed their emperor. Zhong Liao looked at Liu Biyu with a hopeful look on his face and said. Liu Biyu was speechless. Bingju, he also wanted to go back, but he didn't dare to go back. Since Ding Yuan came to Qinwang with him who didn't want to come to Luoyang at all, since that time Ding Yuan left his hometown with most of the soldiers of Bingju, since that time because there were not enough soldiers to protect the border of Bingju, the Hu people in the north of the country went south to herd horses, and at that time he was not facing the Hu people in the north of the country, so he did not have the courage to go back. Fengxian. Zhong Liao interrupted Liu Biyu's thinking. I can't go back. Liu Biyu said coldly, get ready for the battle, we will still have a fierce battle, and it is far more important to keep our children in Bingju than to think about those things that have no shadow. Chapter 38 Luoyang Under the Flames. The Tiger Prison Pass was defeated, and anyone with a discerning eye could see that Dong Zhuo had given up the Tiger Prison Pass, but in Yuan Shao's view, it was obviously his merit. Regardless of why Dong Zhuo gave up Hulao Pass, now I, Yuan Shao, have occupied it, it's as simple as that. Seeing that the king of Qin was about to succeed and the extraordinary merits were about to arrive, Yuan Shao waved his hand and went all out to win Luoyang and complete this great cause of the king of Qinwang. The speed of the coalition forces was fast, and the marching speed of the troops with the blessing of money and sticks was simply shocking. Liu Bei listened to Chen Shi's plan and hung at the end of the coalition army unhurriedly, and Cao Cao was also hanging at the back half dead. Smart people knew that Luoyang was definitely in danger, but they were more fascinated by the brilliant future and broad road, and they couldn't see the corpses in front of them at all. Luoyang burned, screams and cries could be heard from miles away. Chen Shi looked at the direction of Luoyang extremely sad, and the troops that went in first were probably burned by now. Demu's sighed. Sun Jian shouted loudly at Cheng Piyu. They had just entered Luoyang and heard someone shouting that they were going to loot, and he felt bad at that time, and then the whole Luoyang was on fire, smoky and burning, and the fool knew that he had fallen into the trap, and it was obvious that he could no longer retreat. Public cover. Righteous public go. Cheng Piyu waved the iron-backed snake spear in his hand, and the powerful aura directly suppressed the surrounding fire, but then he felt a burst of dizziness, and the flames consumed a lot of oxygen, and for warriors like them, the oxygen demand was more than that of normal people, and they felt uncomfortable earlier. Huang Gari and Han Dang did not hesitate at all, and directly followed Cheng Piyu along the road that was extinguished by the flames. Put out the fire. Yuan Shao frantically commanded his subordinates. He didn't expect Dong Zhuo to be so crazy at all, and he actually burned the imperial capital. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers worked together to finally control part of the fire, but the entire Luoyang was also burned to most of the time. Looking at Luoyang full of ruins and smoke, Chen Shi felt the cruelty of this era for the first time. Alas, tilde, Chen Shi sighed. He tried to see if he could get some rain from the sky before, but he couldn't even feel the water vapor in the whole sky. He could only watch Luoyang being burned into ruins. Not that he didn't want to save, but he didn't have the ability. The princely coalition army was capable, but unfortunately it was not his own. Sichuan, can you understand how I feel now? Liu Bei had a look of grief and indignation on his face after entering Luoyang. This is the imperial capital. This is the imperial capital of my Han dynasty. How dare he Dong Zhuo do this? Liu Bei's hoarse roar echoed in Chen Shi's ears. Yes, this is the imperial capital Luoyang. We don't have the strength to rescue them. Even if we know in advance, it's useless. The princely coalition has this ability. But it's not ours. If Xuandagong wants to sweep the universe, don't think about using others, only in your own hands. You cannot let the tragedy happen. Chen Shi said in a low voice. We will go back to Taishan County now. I hate their inaction. No matter how difficult it is, I must save this Han dynasty. Liu Bei took Chen Shi's hand and said solemnly. Generally speaking, Chen Shi should bow his head at this time, but Chen Shi stared at the hand he was grabbed by Liu Bei, with a disgusting face, and the two big men were pulling and pulling in public, especially one was himself. Calmly withdrawing his hand, Chen Shi saluted Liu Bei. Xuandagong should wait 2 more days. On the other side, Sun Jian had already fished out a female corpse from the well. There was a brocade bag on it. There was a box in the brocade bag. When he opened it, it was actually a jade seal. Sun Jian's heartbeat almost stopped, and then looked closely. It was really true, only to see that the jade seal was 4 inches in circumference, engraved with 5 dragon buttons. A corner is missing, inlaid with gold. There are 8 characters in seal script on it, commanded by heaven, long life, and eternal prosperity. Sun Jian was shocked. He didn't know where to put his hands. His body trembled non-stop, and his whole body was about to roll his eyes with excitement. Cheng Piyu also saw what was in Sun Jian's hand at this time, first shocked, and then overjoyed. If you don't die, there will be blessings, and the Lord's good luck will come. Now the heavens bestow the jade seal of the Lord, and there will be a time when the treasure will be crowned in the future. The Lord will quickly put away this treasure, and we will rush to Jiangdong as soon as possible to achieve great things. Saying that,
Cheng Piyu showed fierce intent and glanced at the few soldiers behind him. These are all my confidants, and they will not be rumored, so we should quickly turn around to Jiangdong and slowly plot for great things. Sun Jian looked at the 6 or 7 soldiers behind him who were all his guards, so he rejected Cheng Piyu's proposal. Okay. Cheng Piyu thought for a moment, sighed, and gave up his idea, but carefully observed a few people. On the other hand, Liu Bei took Chen Shi and Zhong Zhao to prepare to pay respects to the imperial mausoleum. Although they have become ruins, but in the hearts of some people loyal to the Han dynasty, there are still ancestors who protect the Han dynasty. These were all martyrs, so Chen Shi burned incense for them safely, and then rushed in the other direction with Guan, Zhong, and Zhao. It's up to you. You can grab as much as you can. Chen Shi pointed to Cai Yong's house that was shrouded in fire. On the way, Chen Shi has already made it clear to these 3 that Cai Yong's family has 4,000 volumes of books, and now all he has to do is grab them, regardless of what kind of book he is. Which one is close to grab that? Chen Shi completely wanted to be crooked. The surrounding fire was under the full power of these 3. There was no problem at all in extinguishing one of them, and the fire rescue that he began to think about was completely a joke compared to the methods of these guys, and they directly extinguished the flames. The technique was very simple: a slap in the front, a slap in the back, a slap on the left, a slap on the right, and finally a slap up. Okay. There is no air. Hey, second master, what are you doing? Chen Shi watched Guan Yu carry another book into his arms, and he had already carried a volume before. It's just a biography of Gu Liang. Why bother? Guan Yu said with a normal expression, with no intention of taking it out at all, and then took Cai Yong's handwritten silk book Suizhuan into his arms. You are collecting the spring and autumn annals. Chen Shi was depressed and sorted out the letters. Not too much, after all, it was only ignited after the princes entered the city, and about 90% of the 4,000 volumes of books were preserved, and he was lucky, although many books were burned. Guan Yu glanced at Chen Shi, took out a copy of Cai Yong's annotated Ram biography and began to absorb it on the spot. He just had such a little hobby, holding the spring and autumn annals. Even if he met a great Confucian, he could argue. As for the reason was very simple. His family only had a book. Anyone who spent more than an hour a day, 20 years of uninterrupted study of a book. Others talking to him about this book is enough to shock you. Chapter 39 10,000 books. Do we want to return these books to Cai Zhonglang? Zhao Yun carefully hid the selected book in the pocket on his horse's belly, and then asked a little depressed while holding the handwritten Chinese book on silk in his hand. Zhong Fei hid a lot of books and scrolls in the pockets of himself and Guan Yu's horse, with a bandit expression. Tease, you don't say it, I don't say it. Who knows these books? A fire Luoyang is gone, and who knows if the books are gone? Chen Shi rolled his eyes and said, okay, put away the books, take what you like, these are all sharp weapons used to abduct students in the future. This is not good. Zhao Yun may have felt that being a robber was a bit excessive, and he was a little embarrassed to defend, but his hand was not slow at all, and all the letters and slips that should be packed were put together, and there was not even a single piece of dregs left on the ground. What is your mother-in-law doing? Zilong thinks it's not good, so he gave me the book in your arms, and I saw you carrying a volume of Wei Liaozi. Zhong Fei put away the books and slips he could use while picking and choosing, and put the others in the carriage that had been prepared. Okay, Ida, and Zilong say a few words. These books will be taken when they are taken. You must know that only we take them now is the most in line with etiquette. Chen Shi casually threw a handbook scroll into the carriage. What is the reason for Zichuan? Why don't you call me the second master? Guan Yu interjected inexplicably. Calling your second master is a private matter, now it's a public matter, or a state matter, and you don't want to think about whose mansion this is. Chen Shi rolled his eyes and said, Cai Zhonglang's mansion. What's here? People are gone, we don't save anything. What's wrong with saving us and taking it away? It's better to be taken away by us than to be burned by fire. Zhong Fei said nonchalantly. Alas, that's not what I mean. Don't you think there are a lot of books? Chen Shi rolled his eyes and said. Saying this. Zhao Yun's eyes lit up. It turns out to be ill-gotten gains. Okay, I'll rob the rich and help the poor. It's not ill-gotten gains. These books are all books of the Han dynasty's Dongguan. After Dongzhuo entered Luoyang, the aristocracy was worried that Shiliang Wufu and Xiongyu would do the same thing, so they divided the 300,000 volumes of Dongguan. Cai Zhonglang was originally in Dongguan to compile the national history, so when dividing the books, he took a little more, gave Wang Zhongshuan 10,000 volumes. There are so many left. Chen Shi shrugged his shoulders and said, so it is most polite for us to take it back now. 1. 10,000 volumes? Guan Yu obviously stuttered a little. Yes, 10,000 volumes. Chen Shi said helplessly, Xuan Dagong is a member of the Han family,
and it is also appropriate for him to recycle these Han family treasures, and I am still thinking about going to Wang Can to get the 10,000 books back. Guan Yu, Zhong Fei, and Zhao Yun now want to scold their mothers in their hearts. It is not easy for them to want a book as a family collection, and Se Yong actually gave away 10,000 volumes of books. Zichuan, where is that guy Wang Can? I went to get those 10,000 books back. How could my Han collection fall into the hands of outsiders? Guan Yu stood up with a Qinglong Yangyu knife and said righteously, "If I can find it, I will let you come here." Chen Shi rolled his eyes. His family was a branch of the Chen family, and his father had been wide, and the family had only a shelf of books, and the 110 volumes added up to only more than 10 books, and 10,000 volumes filled the facade, claiming to be a scholarly family. It can be said that in this era, the monopoly of the family is directly knowledge, and the books as the carrier of knowledge are only owned by the aristocratic family, and one or two books from the common family will definitely be passed down as family heirlooms. The reason why the great Confucians are admired by a lot of people in this era is also very simple. They are willing to share their knowledge with more people, instead of cherishing themselves, although they are accepting 3 or 5 disciples and a large number of auditors, but it is undeniable that they did pass on their knowledge to these people, although not much, but enough to change their fate. Looking at the 3 people with blood-red eyes and indignant faces, Chen Shi could only slowly appease 300,000 volumes of books. It can be said that in the 400 years of the Han dynasty, except for the part destroyed by Wang Mang, all the treasures were treasured, and as a result, all the collections of the country went into the pockets of the family. What is this? Okay, I'll find a way to get those books back in the future. Chen Shi looked at the 3 people's gritted teeth and comforted them. Zichuan doesn't have to be like this. For the big family, life is not important, only the family inheritance is the most important, and for the family inheritance, only the land and family studies are the center, and the books they take cannot be taken back. Zhao Yun shook his head and said, signaling that Chen Shi didn't need to comfort them. Aren't these things? Chen Shi shook the scroll in his hand. This kind of thing is relatively simple. You will know in the future, they will return it, as long as they are not stupid. Pack up, we will meet with Xuan Dagong, the alliance is coming to an end, and we are going to receive our assets. When Chen Shi came back with Guan Zhongjiao, Hua Xiong sat cross-legged in the middle of the tent, and when he saw Chen Shi come in, he stood up stiffly. Zichuan, is Xianggu gone? Let's go, we're going to hunt him down. Chen Shi looked at Hua Xiong with a dull face and said, are you going? You will meet Liu Biyu. I don't want to go. According to what I said before, I, Hua Xiong, switched to Xuan Dagong. There is no objection to this. As for Dong Xianghua, I don't want to face him. Hua Xiong sighed and said, not because of Dong Zhuo's behavior. If he might have been like that before, now he has a new choice. He just hopes that this time he will not look away. I won't meet Dong Zhuo. I just need your help to get the loot that belongs to us, and you don't want the Shiliang elite rider to be powdered. Chen Shi explained with a smile that Hua Xiong was a very important figure, and the first fierce general of Shiliang before Liu Biyu was famous in the army. Okay. Hua Xiong hesitated for a moment and said, with the 4 fierce generals, Chen Shi found Liu Bei, Xuan Dagong. Cao Gong invited you to pursue Dong Zhuo before? Yes, but I refused. I believe Zichuan has his own arrangements. Zijian, since you have voted for me, I will not treat you poorly, and now you will obey Zichuan's orders. Liu Bei seemed to be very familiar with Hua Xiong, and did not win people's hearts, but just asked him to obey Chen Shi's orders. Yes. Hua Xiong clenched his fists, and then stood behind Chen Shi, looking a little like a guard. This. Chen Shi wanted to refuse, and then thinking about his previous behavior of withdrawing his hand, it is estimated that Liu Bei thought he wanted to leave, so he sighed secretly and accepted Liu Bei's arrangement. Even if he had the idea of me leaving, he did not have the idea of killing me, and used his affection to recruit me. Don't worry, I will not leave unless it is a last resort. Chapter 40 Wisdom accumulated over thousands of years. Don't you think your soldiers are a little less? Chen Shi smiled and said, what is the most elite soldier in the world today? I think you all know in your hearts, instead of borrowing the power of others, it is better for us to strengthen ourselves. After all, we are a tree without roots, and it is already a blessing to have so many soldiers, and the most elite soldiers in the world that Zichuan said are not the Shiliang Iron Cavalry. Liu Bei's eyes flashed with a flash of light. Well, this is a gift I have prepared. I'm going to leave here. I should take it away. If Zijian can show the dominance of Shiliang's first sharp drop, it is estimated that there is no problem in incorporating about 10,000 Shiliang Iron Cavalry this time. Chen Shi said with a smile, and then motioned to Hua Xiong. The next step is up to you. After all, you have been in Shiliang for a long time. If you have enough popularity, it will be much easier to walk in the future. Before Liu Biyu, I was the first general of Shiliang, and after Liu Biyu came, I was still the god of war, the undefeated god of war. Hua Xiong said with a wry smile, saying that if he only relied on his reputation among the Shiliang elite cavalry, there would be no problem. However, is Sichuan so sure to capture so many Shiliang elite cavalry? You must know that this can be said to be the #1 elite in the world. It's nothing, we just go to receive it. It must be Liu Biyu who leads the Shiliang elite cavalry to break, and now Liu Biyu is probably about to defeat Cao Cao. It is the time when the doubts are the greatest. When you see us coming, you will remember what I wrote in that letter as soon as you see us. Turn your head and leave, and the rest is up to you.
Chen Shi said indifferently.
Then seeing that everyone was puzzled, Chen Shi slowly explained the reason. The letter I gave to Liu Biyu did not solicit Liu Biyu. I gave Liu Biyu some hints as a Bingju native who had received Liu Biyu's favor, saying that Li Yu would let him dig the imperial mausoleum, and what damage would this matter do to him, and then he would burn Luoyang, and then let him ambush the coalition army.
Sichuan, aren't you giving Liu Biyu advice? Liu Bei said with some confusion.
No, it's just to gain Liu Biyu's trust, and by the way, let Liu Biyu understand the form better, and Li Yu would explain the ambush of the coalition forces. However, I deliberately hinted that Li Yu would only explain the ambush and not explain how many times there were pursuits, and the first pursuit was likely to be the bait of the coalition forces, and after his pursuit went deeper, he might be ambushed, and even he himself would fall into it.
Chen Shi said very casually.
Sichuan, if you do this, aren't you afraid that Liu Biyu will deliberately carry out a second ambush?
Zhao Yun asked with a frown.
Liu Biyu doesn't have this time, and Liu Biyu will not put himself in danger. All the previous words are true. Liu Biyu will definitely pay attention to the last hint, especially when the 3 generals of Guan, Zhong, and Zhao are all there, and they can kill him. He will not hesitate to turn his head and leave. As for his Shiliang soldiers, he will not care. As long as it is not a Bingju soldier, he does not take it to heart at all.
I have confirmed this to General Xianghua.
Chen Shi smiled and explained to Zhao Yun that he was very skilled at playing these things.
This is true.
Hua Xiong smiled bitterly and said, except for the children of Bingju, Liu Biyu has never cared about the life and death of the Shiliang soldiers, which is why the Bingju Wolf Cavalry and the Shiliang Iron Cavalry are still incompatible.
Sichuan is really talented. Liu Bei looked at Chen Shi with bright eyes and said, probably not.
Chen Shi spread his hands and said helplessly, in the future, the relationship between Liu Biyu and Dong Zhuo and Li Yu will not be so good. He will always suspect that Li Yu and Dong Zhuo want to get rid of him, and this thorn will always be buried in his heart until the 2 sides fall. Of course, I am not optimistic about Dong Zhuo. He no longer has the original ambition, and Li Yu is probably not willing to help Dong Zhuo, who has no ambition.
So ruthless. Guan Yu, Zhong Fei said in unison.
It's nothing ruthless. I didn't kill anyone. I didn't let them kill anyone. What I said was true. There was no lie. Chen Shi rolled his eyes and began to quibble, and you see that I didn't sow discord. As a fellow townsman, it is appropriate to think about it for my fellow countrymen. If Liu Biyu really believes that Li Yu does not have such a thing. Guan Yu, Zhong Fei, and Zhao Yun were all speechless, but it was undeniable that Chen Shi was very right. There was no malice between the lines in the whole letter, pure goodwill, but letting Liu Biyu see it was the greatest malice. Okay, don't say it. It's time for us to take over our men. This is our foundation in the future. If we can't kill them, try not to kill them. Chen Shi smiled and comforted a few people. This kind of thing seemed too familiar to him, and sometimes the kindness that appeared in places where it shouldn't be was precisely the greatest malice. Guan Zhong Zhao each returned to the camp to lead his troops, ready to do a big job. From Chen Shi's words they had already heard that the 18,000 Shiliang Iron Cavalry was already ironclad, and Chen Shi did not intend to take charge of the troops. Naturally most of them would have to divide it, although the majority would be given to Liu Bei, but the rest were their own share, and the 4 of them could at least get 1,000 each.
Xuan Degong, can you tell me about my ambitions?
Chen Shi asked solemnly after pushing Hua Xiong aside, but he couldn't hide a smile in his eyebrows. He didn't mind Liu Bei answering any answer. What he needed was a monarch who could be relied upon, not a monarch with great ambitions and a ruthless heart. What Chen Shi wants is stability. This era is a troubled time. Any idea needs to keep himself to be realized, whether it is to revive the Han dynasty, or to restore China, or to establish the spirit of martial arts again. These need Chen Shi to live to do it. In 1,800 years, Chen Shi had too much knowledge and too much vision than this era, and his intelligence may be inherently different, but wisdom is the experience accumulated over time. Chen Shi clearly knew that his intelligence would probably not be the opponent of these famous ministers throughout the ages, but there was no problem with his own vision, his own knowledge reserves, and his own wisdom exploding their 8 streets. The simplest way to say it is that Chen Shi at least knows what benefits will be implemented at this time, what are the disadvantages in the long run, and there is no need to check and fill in the gaps. What impact will it have on hundreds of years, and what policy will be changed after hundreds of years?
Are you kidding?
So to put it badly, as long as Chen Shi grasps the general direction of the political economy, there are a few people under his command, And then there is a monarch who can let Chen Shi go, under the same conditions. The famous ministers of the three kingdoms are tied together, and Chen Shi is sure to suppress it in a short period of time, which is no longer relying on intelligence, but purely knowledge reserves and experience. Chapter 41: The Original Wish. With a group of famous ministers in the Han dynasty who did not understand economic circulation at all, Chen Shi was sure to turn all of these famous ministers into his own stepping stones, because no one in this era understood the necessity and destructiveness of business. Therefore, Chen Shi is very confident. As long as there is no accident, he has his own help to gather famous generals and ministers, and then slowly infiltrate his thoughts, develop the economy, and accumulate a lot of money. Maybe he has saved enough strength to squeeze all the princes to death before the other princes have gained momentum. From the beginning, Chen Shi has positioned himself. He will not go to the battlefield. His wisdom is purely on paper, and there may be no problem in relying on the strategies learned in history to be a scum staff officer. But if he really goes to the battlefield, he may not even be as good as Zhao Kui. Chen Shi positioned himself as a logistics personnel, and it was okay to be a harmless strategist like Zhong Liang, but unfortunately he did not have the ability to win thousands of miles away, so he could only look at Xiao He from a distance, hoping to be close to this logistics personnel. Looking at Chen Shi's sincere eyes, Liu Bei hesitated. In his opinion, this is Chen Shi's test. Since ancient times, the king chooses the minister also chooses the king. Li Sai ran from Chu to the Qin state. Isn't it just optimistic about the king of Qin and not the king of Chu? Naturally, in Liu Bei's opinion, this issue is very important. After Chen Shi appeared, he was much more relaxed, and many things have changed. The original princes who fought soy sauce asked Dong, and he was forced to play the protagonist. Coupled with the plan revealed before, Liu Bei knew that there might be no shop after this village. Did you deliberately explain your plan to me a little bit before, just to make me think carefully? Is my ambition to support the Han dynasty? I have told Chen Shi many times, so why does Chen Shi ask again? Is he not satisfied with this ambition? Why am I also doubting my ambitions? Liu Bei thought silently, without speaking. He was thinking about his original ambition, saying too many words, and had foregone his original ambition. As the son of heaven, I should ride on this carriage cover. Liu Bei remembered his original wish, pointed to the big tree from a distance, and said the sentence. His original wish was that I would be the son of heaven. Liu Bei laughed, laughing without caring about his identity. He didn't taboo Chen Shi on the side, laughed presumptuously, and finally stopped, looked at Chen Shi and said, I, Liu Bei, am loyal to the Han dynasty and am determined to support the Han dynasty, so the Han dynasty can be supplemented, but it can't replace it. I am a relative of the Han family. Even if I have this bloodline, I need to lead by example. The glory of the Han family cannot be tarnished, and anyone who gets involved is my mortal enemy. Chen Shi was stunned. Liu Bei actually said not to support the Han family, but to be loyal to the Han family, to support the Han family, but not to hide his ambitions. Indeed, since there is this bloodline, there must be this responsibility. Chen Shi felt Yuan Shao's anger of the king and hegemon in Liu Bei for the first time. Liu Bei looked at Chen Shi's gaze and made Chen Shi a little unbearable, and said helplessly along his forehead, I'd better follow you first. At least I don't see a more suitable candidate than Xian Digong now. Liu Bei was a little disappointed, and then his heart was a lot more relaxed. At least Chen Shi didn't leave, right, and he also obviously said that there was no suitable candidate. As far as Liu Bei was suitable. You must know that this is a coalition of princes, people with names and surnames in the world, except for the Han clan relatives are here, and among so many people, Liu Bei is the most suitable enough to show his ability. In that case, Sichuan don't slacken. Liu Bei had a smile on his face and exuded a flamboyant arrogance, which was a huge change from Liu Bei that Chen Shi saw in Gongsun Zon's camp at the earliest, which can be said to be a world of difference. Even if you slack off, no one in this world will see it. Chen Shilang smiled. The confidence revealed on his body surprised Liu Bei. He had always felt that Chen Shi was low-key and calm, but he didn't expect to have a flamboyant side. I'm relieved by Sichuan's words. Liu Bei smiled and said, let's go, and receive our Shiliang elite. On the other side, Cao Cao was running away. First he was attacked by Lu Biyu when he was burying the pot and cooking, and the whole army almost collapsed. If he hadn't been very capable, it was estimated that he would have been scattered by Lu Biyu led by the Shiliang Iron Cavalry. But even so, he was chased by Lu Biyu, and finally had to fight to the death to drag Lu Biyu to give Cao Cao a chance to breathe. The two Xiahou brothers, who had been fighting and retreating for only a few minutes, were beaten to death by Lu Biyu, and they finally understood how *** Guan Yu, Zhong Fei, and the one named Zhao Yun were, and it was not a human job at all against Lu Biyu. Cao Hong led 110 remnants to escort Cao Cao to Xingyang, and there was no way to go, so he could only go wherever he went. Big brother, hurry up. Cao Hong saw that Lu Biyu's top flower feather on the horizon had appeared without the slightest hesitation, and turned over to kill back. He could die, but Cao Cao could not die. This was his belief.
Seeing Cao Hong being cut to the ground by more than 20 moves, Cao Cao was desperate, and he died before he could succeed. However, Lu Biyu is now entangled in what was said in that letter. After all, everything was right before, and it was said that the coalition army may pursue several times. This kind of thing Lu Biyu is terrifying to think about. Generally speaking, after repelling the first pursuit, all the soldiers will relax. If there is another pursuit, it may be completely destroyed, so now Lu Biyu is very careful. Seeing that there was only one Cao Cao left, Lu Biyu pursued all the way to get a great achievement, but he didn't notice that he was out of touch with the army. Kill Cao Cao. Regardless of whether there is an attack or not, rush back. That letter can't be disbelieved. Lu Biyu felt that his fellow was still quite reliable, and it was for his own good. Cow thief is dead. Lu Biyu laughed wildly and ran towards Cao Cao with a red rabbit, wanting to kill Cao Cao with a move. At this moment, a voice came from a distance. Lu Biyu is dead. Lu Biyu looked at Guan Yu, and then looked at Cao Cao, who could catch up with Cao Cao in a minute at most.
Lu Bu is dead.
He felt that killing Cao Cao was only a round of things. Catching up with Cao Cao died, and then the red rabbit under his crotch turned around. These two guys should go eat soil, but why did he feel a little dangerous? Lu Biyu looked sideways to the other side, and then cursed. Zhao Yun was not far from him. The most excessive thing was that this guy didn't shout at all, and directly copied the back road. Don't hesitate. The letter the fellow gave him made it very clear that if he was dragged back, he might die here, and it might be difficult for Guanzhong Zhao to kill the recovered 77 or 88 in a short period of time. But it is really not a problem to hold it back and drag it to the group of masters of the coalition army. Chapter 42. A general with soldiers is a general. Remember this revenge. There will be a great retribution in the future. Lu Biyu lost a sentence and ran in the other direction without looking back, and became a small in less than a minute under the high speed of the Red Rabbit. Shortly after Lu Biyu left, the two brothers of Xiahou and Le Jin, who were supporting Cao Hong, rushed over, and couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief when they saw Guan, Zhong, and Zhao guarding there. Thank you Yunchang, Ida, Zilong. The two Xiahou brothers hugged their fists. The Lord was worried that Cao Gong would be in danger in pursuing Dongzhuo alone, so he sent the three of us to come first. Zhao Yun saw that Guan Zhong was looking at him, so he clenched his fists and explained, the four of you should hurry up and gather the defeated army to protect Cao Gong back to the camp. It is not suitable to stay here for a long time, and the three of us still need to help the Lord defeat the Shiliang Iron Cavalry. Thank you Xuanda Gong for your help. Cao Cao sighed, but still maintained his demeanor, and left here with a bow to the three of them with disappointment. On the other side, Chen Shi looked at the cavalry that had been pulled into a long line on the plain and sighed. This is the so-called Shiliang Iron Cavalry, and even the formation is gone. Isn't this looking for death? This is the Shiliang Iron Cavalry? Chen Shi looked at Hua Xiong and asked. That bastard Lu Biyu definitely did it on purpose. When did he bring him to Bingju wolf riders like this? Hua Xiong cursed. Chen Shi shrugged his shoulders and didn't speak. He has completely figured it out after coming to this world for so long. It is true that there are masters in this world, but more of them are ordinary people, poor and rich. They can't eat enough and want to draw energy from food. What a joke. Therefore, although the physical fitness of ordinary people in this world is strong, it is barely strong in the physical fitness of the special forces in later generations. As for the internal breath, there is almost no match, but fortunately, the potential is very strong, and if you train well to feed enough, you can still cultivate a little bit of internal breath. However, such a little internal breath is basically useless. At most it can make yourself a little stronger than before, and it still has no effect on an inhuman like Shangguanzhong Zhao. If you look at it this way, no matter how many people don't have a top general, but in fact it is a big mistake. When the soldiers are formed, after the breath is connected, it will offset the alien aura that is free outside, that is to say, form a formation, or connect into pieces, and the troops that maintain the formation can't suffer much loss against the generals, and even the generals come in single-handedly. And the soldiers may be able to kill the generals if they resist desperately. Therefore, the formation is very important for the army. If you rush up like a pig, maybe 100,000 people will be beaten by thousands of well-organized troops and can't lift their heads. The current situation is that the Shiliang Iron Cavalry has turned its own front and arrow formation into a messy long strip, completely devoid of the invincible momentum pointed out by the soldiers, and the breath above the head has also become a mess, and it has disappeared one or two pieces from time to time. This is really the first elite in the world. How can it be so different from the White Horse righteousness? Guan Yu, Zhong Fei, and Zhao Yun came back not too late, and the Shiliang Iron Cavalry made a mess of themselves, looking ready to be captured. Zilong, lead your White Horse righteous concubine to teach this group of idiots. Chen Shi said indignantly. What he was about to receive was actually such scum, and he was a little embarrassed to ask for it. Yun Chang, lead the soldiers to attack its center. Yi De, lead the soldiers to stop the vanguard,
and we will eat all the Shiliang Iron Cavalry. Chen Shi arranged angrily, Zijian is ready. As soon as you think you are sure to clean up the situation, take action immediately, otherwise I will not order to stop. Zhao Yun led 1,300 white horse righteous servants to mount at the same time, and then a white cloud appeared clearly on the top of the troops, and then quickly condensed together with Zhao Yun's aura as the center, and the entire army became one before it attacked. The white horse is righteous. Zhao Yun's bright silver spear knocked on his helmet lightly, and then launched a charge towards the Shiliang Iron Cavalry first. Kill! Guan Yu and Zhong Fei roared angrily and also led their soldiers to kill them, each with a blue light and a black light on their heads, and the entire army was shrouded in it. Boom! Guan Yu's casual blow almost reached the power of the previous all-out blow, and a blue light severely cut off the Shiliang Iron Cavalry. This is the general, and the generals without soldiers are weak chickens. Chen Shi looked at the attack of Guan, Zhong, and Zhao and sighed with emotion. With the strength of the soldiers as a blessing, the strength of the generals will be greatly improved, and the more troops are commanded within their own limits, the stronger they will be. But once that limit is exceeded, it will become a burden. Not only can it not become stronger, but it will also lead to a decline in the overall strength of the troops due to unfavorable command and mobilization, disrupting the formation. After the 3 moves, the Shiliang Iron Cavalry was directly encircled. If the formation was still there, those 3 moves would kill up to 110 people. But now the formation is scattered, and there is no momentum to share the damage. Even if Guanzhong Zhao deliberately did not greet a crowded place, more than 300 people died. Stop it all for me. Hua Xiong rode a yellow-maned horse and jumped directly out of the crowd, shouting loudly, I'm Hua Xiong, I'm the one who knows the face and put down my weapon for my master. Look at you melon skins. I'm here. What have you become? Even the formation of the Dog Day is gone, looking for death pinch. Baba. Surrender. Surrender to me. Hua Xiong shouted and shouted out of tune, and he could still pay attention when talking to Liu Bei's and others. But after seeing this group of fellow villagers, he shouted twice and became a dialect, and after a big scolding, the Shiliang Iron Cavalry surrendered collectively. The main general Liu Biyu disappeared, the troops were all stunned. The former Shiliang First Fierce General Hua Xiong and his former immediate boss was surrendering again, and all the soldiers who had a leader also surrendered. After all, there was not a soldier to eat, and if he was killed disobediently, it would be over. Hewa, you are an idiot. Hua Xiong went up and slapped the leading captain, directly pulled the guy off the horse, and went up for a few kicks. How did I teach you in the first place? Forgot all about the Dog Day? Ergu, and you want to die, the formation is gone, and you are still chasing. Seeking death. Wanting to be reincarnated. None of the several captains who were beaten dared to resist, and allowed Hua Xiong to beat him violently. Get up, come with me to see the Lord. Dongxiangwa I won't follow, what about you? But by the general's command. Several captains hurriedly said. Let's go, Dongxiangwa is no longer the coach who drank with us in Shiliang before. We don't need to work hard for him, we have paid him back all these years, and at most we will retreat when we play against him in the future. Hua Xiong helped several captains up and said, My lord, these are all my officers before, and some of the Shiliang elite cavalry that came this time are also my former troops. Hua Xiong saluted Liu Bei. Their ability is not as good as this performance. Please give them a chance. Don't worry, Zijian, the defeat of a few of your subordinates this time is caused by Liu Biyu's eagerness to seek credit. What does it have to do with them? It is caused by the order. How can these people disobey? Liu Bei smiled and said he didn't care about it. Chapter 43, It will be replaced. Liu Bei pushed the previous things to Liu Biyu in one sentence. After all, these people are basically Hua Xiong's subordinates, and Hua Xiong's performance also made Liu Bei very satisfied. Whether it was loyalty or courage, he was very satisfied. So Liu Bei would not refute Hua Xiong's face for such trivial things. Zijian, are you sure you have a complete grasp of these people? Chen Shi frowned and asked, although he had considered the disposal of Hua Xiong's troops after Hua Xiong was captured alive. But he didn't expect Liu Biyu to really bring all of Hua Xiong's troops this time, which was not easy to divide. Sir, you don't have to be like this. Since you have defected to the Lord, naturally the previous troops will no longer be counted. The prisoners will be recorded as prisoners, and military merit is military merit, and you can't treat them specially because they were my troops. Hua Xiong said solemnly, from this point of view, this guy is still quite old-fashioned and dogmatic. Chen Shi and Liu Bei looked at each other, and when they saw Liu Bei nodding, they turned to Hua Xiong and said, you pick out your troops, and still make them your subordinates. I think after so long of running in, it is not a matter of time to exert combat effectiveness if you break up and reorganize. As for the rest, it will be left to Zhuangdegang to deal with, but if your troops return to your subordinates and are still at this level, don't blame me for withdrawing your establishment. Yes. Hua Xiong replied loudly, but there was obvious joy in his voice. After all, military law is military law, and favors are favors, although Hua Xiong can adhere to military law when favors and military law conflict. But it is better to take into account both sides. After all, China has been a society of human feelings since ancient times. Soon Hua Xiong selected his previous troops, and it was obvious that these people were not unaccustomed to Hua Xiong's command at all, and under the leadership of Hua Xiong, the reorganized troops instantly condensed their own cloud like a burning cloud. Similar to Guanzhong Zhao, this cloud of burning clouds is also shrouded in his troops led by the main general Hua Xiong, which looks even more powerful than Guanzhong and Zhao's, which shows that Hua Xiong, as a fierce general of Shiliang, is also a pretty good cavalry commander. After Hua Xiong pulled 4,000 people, Guan Yu and Zhong Fei were almost drooling, and they thought that the Shiliang Iron Cavalry was simply embarrassing. But now Hua Xiong immediately showed his elite essence after getting started. Chen Shi looked at Guan Yu, Zhong Fei, and Zhao Yun, who seemed to be indifferent to the gun, and sighed, "This Nima is not enough at all. Okay, although these soldiers are scary enough for a small prince, but according to the future performance of these people present, it is estimated that it is a little too little for one person. Allocate 500 people to Sichuan as guards, and the rest of Yunchang, Yide, and Zilong are 1,500 each, and if there is anything, leave it to me." Liu Bei issued an order to divide the stolen goods. I don't think there are many people who want to pass Zhong and Zhao after dividing it, but Liu Bei himself is not in charge of the army, and there were 1,000 personal guards brought out of the Yellow Turban Rebellion before, but they were all led by Guan Yu and Zhong Fei, and now after distributing cavalry to Guan Yu and Zhong Fei, those veterans of the personal guards can be recycled into his hands again, which can be regarded as an alternative explanation. I have to say that although Guanzhong Zhao has not experienced too many vicious battles now, he already has the foundation of some famous generals. At least these Shiliang Iron Cavalry have quickly stabilized, although it cannot reach the fierce nature of Hua Xiong, but it can no longer be seen that it is a newly defeated prisoner, and there are already some elite soldiers. Watching Guan Yu and Zhong Fei running happily on the plain with 1,500 cavalry, Chen Shi didn't know what expression to use. "Second master, you are also too miserable. Isn't it just 1,500 cavalry? As for being so joyful, don't you know that the good days are yet to come?" Well, Chen Shi is too lazy to care about Guan Yu and Zhong Fei. He doesn't know anything. This time is still the period of Dongzhuo's chaos. The whole world has cavalry troops in addition to Dongzhuo is Gongsun Zon and Ma Teng. But Ma Teng, how did your cavalry come from? Shiliang or something is weak. Isn't that Dongzhuo's place? All in all, the cavalry at this time is still very scarce. Of course, whether it is Cao Cao before Guanju, or Sun Liu after Chibi, there are very few horses or something. There is no way, whether it is Yuan Shao or Cao Cao, they all know that horses are strategic materials and cannot be bought and sold too much, and because of this, there are obviously a large number of wild horses on the grassland, but the cavalry of the princes is just like this. Xuan Degong, inform the two generals Guanzhong, we need to go back to the camp, go back and see the faces of the princes from all walks of life, and then we should go our own way, but Li Yu can use Luoyang as bait, so it is probably natural to leave other bait to divide the princes. I don't know if this bait is wonderful enough. Chen Shi looked at Guan and Zhong who gradually mastered the formation below, and turned his head to Liu Bei and said, "Sichuan, is Li Yu really as scary as you said?" Liu Bei asked a little incomprehensible when he heard Chen Shi's words. Against this person, you can't take chances at any time, otherwise it is very likely that the good situation will be messed up by him. But it's a pity that he chose the wrong lord. If a calm-minded person sits in Dongzhuo's position, the world will have changed hands. Chen Shi said without reservation. Seeing that Liu Bei still didn't believe it, Chen Shi sighed and said, "Zijian, from Shiliang to Luoyang, before Dongzhuo was corrupted, did all Li Yu's plans go wrong?" Hua Xiong was stunned for a moment, not expecting that Chen Shi would turn the topic to him, but after hearing it, he began to think. The more he thought about it, the more solemn he became, and finally said with a surprised face, "No, there is actually no mistake, I haven't paid attention, he seems to have been covering up his traces, completely retreating into the shadow of Xianghua. Well, look, it's terrifying, Zijian has been with him for so many years, and he has enjoyed his plans so many times without finding that he has made no mistakes before, so Xuan Degong must not underestimate him." Chen Shi spread his hands and said innocently. Chen Shi had long known that Li Yu had no mistakes in his calculations before coming to Luoyang, not only because Dongzhuo could distinguish right from wrong at that time, but also because Li Yu was very powerful, and of course, because there were no real strategists from Shiliang to Yongju during that time, and Li Yu played some small roles. Liu Bei sighed. There are so many capable people in the world. Dongzhuo has Liu Biyu, Li Yu, and other capable people follow. Then he looked at Chen Shi, looking at his innocent face, and felt a little better, and then looked at his four fierce generals, and the depression in his heart was relieved. Liu Biyu was defeated by my second brother and third disciple Long. Li Yu was also calculated by Chen Shi. Sooner or later he broke with Liu Biyu. I have a civil servant stronger than Dongzhuo, and I also have a better general than him, and I will be able to replace him in the future.
Liu Bei thought silently.
Chapter 44 Jade Seal, Jade Seal. Liu Bei led Chen Shi and others back with a satisfied face, and happened to see Cao Cao walking away with an angry face.
Hello, Cao Gong.
Liu Bei dismounted and bowed to Cao Cao. Liu Bei had a good impression of Cao Cao, who sacrificed his life and forgot his death to pursue Dong Zhuo. After all, he still retained loyalty to the Han dynasty. Xuandagong, alas, I think that Cao Mengde ended up like this in the end. Cao Cao said with emotion, the people in the tent are now singing and dancing, and the banquet is very lively. Who else remembers the previous covenant? Cao Gong might as well call me a table. You and I will also communicate a lot. As for the tent, to be honest, if Sichuan hadn't forced me to watch a good show, I would have returned to Taishan County now.
Liu Bei looks very personable.
It's okay, but this is not the place to talk. You and I will go to the back camp to think about it. Cao Cao said with a wry smile. Because he had pursued Dong Zhuo alone, he was ridiculed after returning, and he turned his head and left in a fit of anger. Chen Shi knelt helplessly in the left rear of Liu Bei, listening to the conversation between Cao Cao and Liu Bei. These two guys had a lot of hatred for meeting each other when they talked, and they had the idea of standing up and worshipping the handle. I have to say that the two who have not yet become heroes have similarities in many aspects. Of course, after becoming heroes, the interests of the two also have similarities. I don't want Xuande to have such a capable person under him, and he actually gathered the Shiliang Iron Cavalry brought by Liu Biyu. Cao Cao heard that Liu Bei quickly packed up the embarrassed Shiliang Iron Cavalry after he left, and he was slightly envious. Ha ha ha, Mengde thinks highly of me. This is not my strength, but Sichuan's ability. Liu Bei laughed, but he didn't expect that he also had a time when he was considered to have strong troops, and then smiled and explained Chen Shi's plan to Cao Cao. The more Cao Cao listened, the more surprised he became, and finally couldn't help but applaud. The plan was extremely simple, but he firmly held the suspicion between Liu Biyu, Dong Zhuo and Li Yu, overwhelmed Liu Biyu step by step, and finally detonated his suspicion.
But I underestimated Sichuan.
Cao Caolang smiled, but his face was a little bitter. He remembered Chen Shi's behavior when he first formed the alliance, and the situation when Chen Shi wandered in the princely camp later. It was obvious that Chen Shi at that time was looking for his next home.
I can't be like this.
Chen Shi said calmly, a little curious about the current weird scene. Maybe the next time they meet, the two will meet, and I don't know if they can still leave some affection. Chen Shi is still full of appreciation for Cao Cao. If he is not sure not to let Cao Cao become suspicious of him, it is the best choice to throw himself to Cao Cao.
Big brother.
At this time, Guan Yu and Zhong Fei rushed in and said loudly, Big brother, go to the main account, something big has happened.
Why are you two so flustered? Liu Bei asked a little depressedly.
Just now, Liu Bei wanted to make a fuss twice, but now Guan Yu and Zhong Fei rushed in. Doesn't this show that the emperor is not strict? However, Liu Bei was completely dissatisfied with Guan Zhong, and he could get half of it if he had a bite to eat. So Liu Bei was not dissatisfied at all, but was a little depressed. Big brother is not good. It is rumored in the camp that Sun Jian got the jade seal of the country, and now he is hiding it privately, and the leader is sending someone to inform Sun Jian to go to the big tent. Big brother should hurry up and go.
Zhong Fei said in a panic. What?
Liu Bei was shocked and stood up directly, and then remembered that Cao Cao was beside him, turned his head to look at Cao Cao, and found that he also stood up angrily. Well, so that the eldest brother will not talk about the second brother, everyone will forgive me, no one is rude. Mengde, you must also want to know the truth of the matter. Let's go to the camp to see what is going on.
Liu Bei took a deep breath, calmed his anger, and said, Okay, but please wait a moment, I'll come when I go. After Cao Cao finished speaking, he bowed and left quickly.
Xuandagong, don't be annoyed. Chen Shi smiled and said, the heirloom jade seal must really have this thing, and not informing Xuandagong is also because Xuandagong is the only Han clan member among everyone, and if he wants to swallow the jade seal privately, he can't do it in front of you.
Sichuan, you can still laugh. What do they want to do? Swallow the jade seal privately?
Do they still regard the Han dynasty and the Son of Heaven in their eyes? Liu Bei said angrily, the jade seal is an important weapon of the country. How can it be in the hands of outsiders? It must be handed over to the country and returned to the hands of the Son of Heaven. Return to the hand of the Son of Heaven? The Son of Heaven is still in Dong Zhuo's hands? Even if he goes back to the jade seal, he can't reach the hands of the emperor. Xuandagong still calms down a little. The jade seal is just Li Yu's second bait. If Luoyang is to let the coalition army complete the agreement when the previous oath was made, let it stop, then the jade seal is divided, so that the coalition army is divided, and has to swing a knife against each other.
And tear off the fig leaf of the Han dynasty, Chen Shi said without hesitation.
Liu Bei was stunned for a moment, then sat on the couch as if he was stiff, and after a long time, he looked sideways at Chen Shi and asked, "Zichuan, is it possible for me to get the Jade Seal?" Then he seemed to think of something, and quickly explained, "I mean, can I let the Jade Seal be kept? Until one day the Son of Heaven is rescued?" "Impossible, at least not now." Chen Shi shook his head and said, "Sun Jian will never hand it over, and Sun Jian is likely to die because of this. The Jade Seal is a bait that seems sweet." Li Yu saw farther than everyone in the main camp, because he knew that the Jade Seal was just a seal. If one day he could push the princes of Guangdong like the Qin Emperor swept Liuhe, then the Jade Seal was just a jade in the hands of Duke Xian, and it would come back sooner or later. Similarly, if the Jade Seal is destroyed, when the time comes, he will sweep the world, and someone will offer a new He wall, and the Jade Seal will be rebuilt. Chen Shi saw that Liu Bei was still struggling, and explained helplessly, he couldn't figure out that a broken stone was really worth fighting for. Is the Jade Seal really important? Chen Shi didn't feel it at all. At most he felt that it was a pity that the Husha wall in the legendary land of Fengluo was carved into a seal, and the beautiful jade should be collected well, and it was really a waste to make a seal. In other words, Qin Shi Huang really lacked such a seal? What a joke, sweeping the 6 harmonies to pacify the 8 wildernesses. Ying Zheng, who called himself the first emperor, needed a seal to prove his merits and identity, and what a joke, he was to use bricks to carve a one that everyone would recognize. If the one who really gets the Jade Seal wins the world, then Dongzhuo still needs to toss like this? Similarly, how could Qin Tu, the owner of the Jade Seal, be overturned by Zhao Jiao? The Jade Seal does not represent the world, it is at most a token. When your identity no longer needs any prefix, it doesn't matter whether you want that thing or not, just lose it and recreate it. Why beg you for a fossard so much? Chen Shi is very puzzled. Chapter 45 Sun Jian. Sun Jian. Liu Bei was silent. Guan Yu and Zhong Fei were speechless. They came to inform Liu Bei as soon as they learned the news of the Jade Seal. Didn't they just hope that the Jade Seal could fall into Liu Bei's hands? As a result, now Chen Shi said that the Jade Seal was just a bait. If it weren't for the previous series of plans that made Guanzhong recognize Chen Shi, he would have gone up with a mouthful now. Liu Bei took a deep breath, looked at Chen Shi with slightly red eyes and said, "I value the Jade Seal too much. As you said, the Jade Seal is just a foreign object. Li Yu is really scary." Liu Bei's heart was bleeding. He finally felt Li Yu's horror. Even if Chen Shi told him that this was just a bait, he still wanted to snatch it. Not to mention that others didn't know that this was a bait, really thought that this was Sun Jian accidentally salvaged, and accidentally leaked the information. "Let's go, and take a look. Zhuangdegang just needs to remember that no matter how you push it, don't touch your hands. I think Sun Jian will not admit it even if he doesn't want to be skinny." Chen Shi sighed and said, "Li Yu's handwriting is simply irresistible to the princes of Quantung, and now not to mention chasing Dongzhuo, it is already the protection of the heavens to stage a full martial arts performance." "Okay," Liu Bei said solemnly, "please also remind me more about this kind of thing in the future. Li Yu is indeed far-sighted, and I think this war is just a strategy for Li Yu to retreat strategically and return to Western Qin to stir up the world as Zichuan said." Chen Shi didn't talk about the Jade Seal anymore, since Liu Bei said that he would not touch the Jade Seal, then don't remind him anymore. If he can't even control such a little asterisk, then he is not Liu Xuande. Strategic retreat is not possible. Chen Shi shook his head and said, "If Dongzhuo is still the same as at the beginning, then needless to say that these are baits, and the retreat is just to watch the fire from the other side. But now it is different. Dongzhuo is abandoned, and these plans are still carried out, but the center is different, and Dongzhuo, who has no ambition, is not too far from death." "Oh, that's good." Liu Bei was stunned. Although there was a touch of joy on his face, he opened his mouth to say something, but in the end he did not speak, completely melted into a sigh. Li Yu was a traitor after all. As usual, Liu Bei still took Guanzhong and Chen Shi to the camp tent, but unlike the previous situation of hello, everyone, this time the oppressive atmosphere in the camp tent was soothing. Seeing Liu Bei come in, except for Kong Rong, Dao Qian, and Cao Cao with their eyes, everyone else was jealous. "Lord Yuan, since Luoyang has been taken, Dongzhuo has also fled, our established strategic goals have been achieved, and we will return to Mount Tai to take up our posts in the near future. As for other things, please leave some mercy, don't let Shiliang Wufu see the joke." Liu Bei saw that everyone was extremely jealous, and he was helpless in his heart, and when it was really a piece of news, he divided the princes, so he deliberately hinted. As soon as everyone listened to Liu Bei's words, they couldn't hear what Liu Bei wanted to say, but they heard Liu Bei's intention to withdraw. Since he had withdrawn from the alliance, then naturally he would not pose a threat to his own competition for the Jade Seal, so for everyone, Liu Bei was no longer a constraint, but an arm helper. Suddenly everyone became enthusiastic about Liu Bei. "Hey, I can only help you here. It seems that someone has already understood the meaning." Zichuan said that Zhu Gong and Youji, sure enough, have heard the meaning, but his unpredictable look is unimaginable? Liu Bei thought with great interest that it was not that he didn't want to make it clear, but that it was meaningless to make it clear, and he should still fight, and he would be involved. For the co-optation of everyone, Liu Bei just smiled, and did not say anything. He is now the same as Kong Rong. He is a witness. If he really got the Jade Seal from Sun Jian, and under the witness of the Han clan relatives and the descendants of the saints, then there will be a lot to talk about. Wait until the flowers withered. Sun Jian finally appeared with Chengpe and Gari Handang, and his face was pale, and most of it was buried in the lurse. Ahem, cough, the leader of the alliance. Forgive me, Jian has an old illness, and he can no longer continue to lead the overall situation, and he has betrayed the kindness of the alliance leader, and I apologize here. Cough. Sun Jian coughed while talking, looking really sick. In desperation, I plan to leave Luoyang today and return to Jiangdong, so as not to bury my bones in a foreign land. Sun Jian's words are simply desolate. A strong man has become a white-headed man overnight, and the original heroism has become a heroic shortness of breath overnight, just wanting to die back to his hometown. How helpless it is. If there was no Jade Seal, Yuan Shao would have let him go immediately without saying a word, and even came to see him off 10 miles. But now that the Jade Seal has happened, not to mention that Yu Sun Jian is not dead, even if he is dead, he should dig it out and find the Jade Seal. Yuan Shao, who was sitting on the main seat, sneered again and again, and said to himself, "You see how interesting Liu Bei is. You actually dare to play with me and look for death." Yuan Shao, who had a sneer on his face, looked at Sun Jian and said, "Wen Tai is sick and fake, and it is true that he got the Jade Seal." Sun Jian was shocked when he heard this. How could Yuan Shao know that he had blocked the news very well, rolled his eyes, and pretended to be stupid? Why can't I understand what the leader said? When did I get the Jade Seal? Yuan Shao sneered. You ask everyone around who else doesn't know. Sun Jian was stunned. He got the Jade Seal before, so he didn't loot anymore. He went straight back to his camp, and then the whole army prepared to leave Luoyang, returned to his hometown of Yangzhou, ready to wait for the time, and did not pay attention to the rumors in the camp at all. So in his impression, this matter should be very secret, and others could not know. When Sun Jian turned his head to look at everyone, he suddenly felt anxious. Almost everyone looked at him like a fool, and Sun Jian immediately understood that the Jade Seal was exposed. Sun Wentai, what else do you have to say? Yuan Shao said mercilessly, hand over the Jade Seal, that's not something you can touch. Sun Jian's heart was crossed, and he stiffened his neck and said, I didn't get the Jade Seal at all, and I gave you something. Yuan Shao was furious, and Sun Jian's hard mouth simply drove him crazy. Let you see someone. Saying that, clapping his hands, a soldier walked in from outside the camp. He watched you salvage the Jade Seal with his own eyes. Sun Jian was furious. That man was originally his personal guard, but now he was standing beside Yuan Shao, drawing his sword and wanting to kill the man. If you dare to kill the sergeant, you must be bullying me. Where is Yang Liangwen's ugliness? Yuan Shao saw that he was soft, and when he saw Sun Jian drawing his knife, he immediately shouted loudly. I saw Yang Liangwen Cho instantly appear on the left and right of Yuan Shao, pointing at Sun Jian with a sword, and Cheng Piyu, Huang Gari, and Handang also stood in front of them with weapons. The princes stepped forward to persuade him to stop, only to see Sun Jian point to the sky and say, if I steal the Jade Seal, I will die under the arrows in the future. After saying that, regardless of everyone's reaction, he left directly, and then left quickly with the soldiers who had already been prepared before everyone reacted. Chapter 46 Sun Jian died and gave money and food. Sun Jian left. Almost everyone knew that the Jade Seal was in Sun Jian's hands. There was nothing to say. Many people began to pay attention to Sun Jian, and Yuan Shao was one of them. Hey, it's a pity. Sun Jian is going to die under the arrows. It's a pity that such a person is a pity. Chen Shi said with a lonely face after leaving the camp and returning to Liu Bei's Daz Hai. Zichuan, what are you talking about? Liu Bei looked at Sun Jian in a daze. Why was Chen Shi so sure that Sun Jian was going to die, and he died under the arrows, even if Liu Bei was very angry and wanted to clean up Sun Jian? But after all, it was the Jiangdong tigers who were not so easy to clean up. How could he say that he would die? Hey, Sun Jian is dead. Who let him talk nonsense? And if he wants to go back to Jiangdong, he will go to Liu Jingju, that is a Han clan relative with 100,000 armor, passing through there with the Jade Seal. I don't know. I will definitely intercept it if I know. Chen Shi said with a sneer. Others may not know what Liu Biao thinks. Chen Shi can understand a little. What kind of death oath he makes? How will he die? Liu Biao's Han clan relatives will abide by Han laws and will not leave their own territory. But in order to ensure the majesty of the Han family, he will definitely let Sun Jian die the same as his oath. You swear that if you take the Jade Seal, you will be shot to death with random arrows. Then you will be shot to death with random arrows, so that you rebels understand that gods will still exists. This is also true, but the Jiangdong tigers are not so easy to kill, and his subordinates are full of soldiers. Even if Liu Jingju makes a move, he may not be able to take it. Liu Bei shook his head, not optimistic about Chen Shi's idea, if he wanted to let Sun Jian lose his troops and break his faith. But it was impossible to kill Sun Jian. After all, he was the commander of the First Army. Liu Jingju knows that this news will naturally be prepared. As for Sun Jian's bravery, for Liu Bei's level, there is not much difference between sincerity and ordinary people. Especially the other party's direct sneak attack. I don't think Sun Jian has any way to survive at all. Even if Cheng Piyu, Hangari, Han Dang are replaced by Yun Chang, Ida, Zilong will not have much way to live. Chen Shi shrugged his shoulders and said, basically, Sun Jian is dead, we just need to wait for the news. Let's not talk about whether there is a fierce general like Liu Beiyu, and even if there is such a fierce general, he will not be willing to use this method. Think about Liu Beiyu's character, but he still maintains the pride of a warrior. Liu Bei shook his head and said, ha ha ha, we will see each other soon. Let's quickly turn around Mount Tai and leave this land of right and wrong. Chen Shi laughed, but there was no defense. Sun Jian was dead. No matter how he ran, he would die. Liu Biao would never allow anyone to touch the Jade Seal, which is why Liu Biao was hostile to Yuan Shu even if he could not send troops himself. What is the Han clan relatives, to put it bluntly, is the best reserve emperor after the emperor fell, and you group of Jade Seal grabbers are embezzling other people's assets, so they have a good reason to fight with other princes, and it is also appropriate to be kicked out by other princes first. Liu Bei left. His reason was very sufficient. He went to Mount Tai to take up his post. He didn't say anything. Liu Bei himself didn't do anything annoying, but many times followed Kong Rong to be a peacemaker, so when Liu Bei left, Kong Rong and Dao Qian came to see off a 10-mile send-off, and the other princes who didn't come also allocated enough grain and grass for Liu Bei. And it was estimated that they could come back when they went back and forth to Mount Tai. Big brother, it's the first time I've seen that we have so much grain and grass. The coalition forces are still good to us. After leaving the camp, Zhong Fei excitedly circled around the baggage team, and finally ran to Liu Bei and shouted excitedly. Yes, in the past, the grain and grass baggage was always tight, but this time we actually allocated 20,000 people for 3 months' worth of food. If the hands are tighter, there is no problem in eating for half a year. If it is all infantry, it is no problem to eat for more than half a year. Liu Bei said heartily, and it could be seen that he was also very happy. Although the cavalry eats more, it is still better to be a cavalry. Guan Yu interjected. I don't know if the coalition army is good or not. I know that these grains are far from enough, and 3 months' food is not bad, but in that place of Mount Tai, at least the first year's food can only be borrowed. Chen Shi said helplessly, 500,000 starving people, as well as Taishan bandits. We need to suppress bandits at the same time. There is nothing to say about suppressing bandits. As long as they come out of Mount Tai, any of the few people present can clean up. As for governance. Chen Shi looked at Liu Bei helplessly. Xuandagong, you can be proficient in government affairs. Forget it. You don't need to be proficient in government affairs. Xuandagong can get money quickly. Liu Bei smiled bitterly and did not answer. Since Chen Shi began to instill in him that Mount Tai was now short of money, he had a big head. He found that everything needed money, and the money spent on governing the entire Mount Tai was estimated to be able to pile up a mountain of gold. This is really troublesome. Then Xuandagong has friends who do business. Chen Shi said dissatisfiedly. To be honest, this sentence is a little rude. You must know that doing business at this time is a cheap business. Maybe it is indeed rich, but the social status is extremely low, and more people are ashamed of talking about business. To say this, before the three of us broke the yellow turban in Yuzhou, we had the help of Su Shuang and Zhong Shiping to have horses and weapons, and the two of them were horse dealers in Zhongshan Kingdom, and if Sichuan needed me, I could write a letter to recruit them to help. Liu Bei was not ashamed of Chen Shi's statement. He was originally a weaver and shoe seller, and he was not too cheap for business. As for writing a letter to recruit the two of them, it was not to say that his current identity to recruit Su Shuang and Zhong Shiping could already be said to give the two faces. Well, since they are righteous men who fund Xuandagong, it is natural to leave this matter to them, but I am afraid that they will not be able to eat it. Xuandagong found someone to write down what I said and sent it directly to them, thinking that they would come with the people and things we needed. Chen Shi smiled and said, since there is not much time, then do it while walking. It is best to get the money and food in place when you arrive at Mount Tai, although it is okay to borrow, but it is best to use your own. Sichuan, can you really produce salt? Liu Bei looked at Chen Shi in surprise and said, as a necessity of life, it is unimaginable how big the profit is. Just dry it. I remember to make sure that the saturation seems to be with lotus seeds. Okay, forgot. When the time comes, they will study it themselves. It is 7 pits. Each pit is 10 centimeters. Okay, just write according to 3 inches, more or less, they will study. Chen Shi frowned and wrote down, forgetting too many things. After purification, I seem to remember that I can use this well salt and rock salt. Chen, she muttered, half muttered. Done, Zhuangdegang, just find someone to send it. The thing is real, at most there are some mistakes and omissions, they just need to study it twice by themselves. Chen, she casually handed the things to Liu Bei. There were so many things in his brain that he robbed money, but he knew a general idea that needed to be studied by craftsmen. Chapter 47 Prospects for the next few years. Chen Shi, who came from another time and space, naturally knew what things could quickly make money in this era. Of course, these industries must have enough force to support them, otherwise they could only be guilty. Papermaking, in this era of books like Fate, is equivalent to robbing money. Printing is the same, glass is the same, lime is the same as the lime, and such basic things are the only way to grab money at this time. Hundreds of years of accumulation of the aristocracy, as long as you can take out one, it is enough to rise all the way to the princes. Think that Cao Song is just a generation of accumulation and has enough wealth for Cao Cao to raise an army, and the accumulation of thousands of years of the aristocracy is no longer clear by money. Coupled with the lack of materials in this era, Chen Shi has a way to take money from these aristocratic families. To be honest, Chen Shi is still quite satisfied with the aristocratic family that emphasizes benevolence, righteousness, propriety, wisdom, and trust, although there will be some scum, but it is undeniable that the morality of many of them is still very admirable, especially Sini. Chen Shi can only admire. This is also why Chen Shi dared to write out the salt, which is almost equivalent to printing money, directly to the soldiers, and then bring it directly to Su Shuang and Zhong Shiping, although there must be some mistakes and omissions, because the trust of this era is almost engraved in the bones, and it is completely different from the era of later generations laughing at poverty and not laughing at prostitutes. Chen Shi can guarantee that Su Shuang and Zhong Shiping will definitely study the method of drying salt this time, and they have also sold their family property, hoping to become Liu Bei subordinates, and the most important thing is that they will still keep Chen Shi's technology as a part, and they will definitely not take advantage of it, and they will even be generous to surprise Chen Shi himself. Chen Shi felt that in this era, except for the worse food, the other sincerity was much better than the previous materialistic era. All in all, there are more technologies that can grab money in this era, even if he can't study it, as long as he knows the general direction, looking for craftsmen to study will definitely come out. There is no way. The good thing about this era is that craftsmen and scholars like him are completely summoned and waving. Plus, as long as there is a little sign of being appointed, a large number of craftsmen can be recruited. Especially when the importance of craftsmen is not known. For Liu Bei, it may be a mud pit Taishan County. In Chen Shi's view, this is completely a big pie. In other words, even if it is a mud pit, Chen Shi feels that according to his existing money-grabbing plan, he can also use money to bulldoze. As for wasting money or something, Chen Shi didn't realize it at all. 500,000 people. The money was spent. How could it be retrieved? It's a pity. Taishan County is not close to the sea, otherwise it would be easier to make money. As for the fact that Taishan County belongs to Yangzhou, Chen Shi didn't take it to heart at all. As for back-to-back with Cao Cao or something, there is nothing to be taboo about. Cao Cao must be the first to consolidate Yangzhou, and he will definitely not touch Liu Bei before he has no strength. After all, in the current situation, Liu Bei seems to be stronger than Cao Cao. In other words, Liu Bei didn't come to clean up Cao Cao, which was already giving Cao Cao face, and it was also Cao Cao who still beat Liu Bei's attention. That is, he was looking for death. In addition, if Chen Shi's estimate is good, Cao Cao's strategy after getting Shi Jizai is estimated to be to consolidate most of Yangzhou, silently swallow Silly, and then carefully give Yuan Shu a chance to swallow Yuzhou. To be honest, the yellow turban of Qingju is a big pit, although it is undeniable that there is a perfect tonic pill in that pit, but for all the princes of this period, almost no one is qualified to eat it, and it will definitely be empty and poisoned alive. Even Chen Shi's consideration of the Qingju yellow turban was put on hold after 2 years, which was still considering that he could make enough money and food within 2 years. Otherwise he could only continue to put it on hold. As for how much he would starve to death in the past 2 years, Chen Shi had no good way, it could only be like this. Although 2 years is quite a long time, Chen Shi had to prepare in advance to clean up Qingju, which can almost be said to be an established strategy. No matter what the reason is, Qingju must be swept away. To be honest, Chen Shi knows better than anyone that as long as the 2 million young men and women in Qingju are eaten, and then by women, as long as they can survive the first year, as long as they follow the step by step, work steadily, and do not make that fatal mistake, it can be said that the world has been swept on the right track. Of course, this situation means that Yuan Shu is still messing around according to history. If he works as hard as Cao Cao, according to the conditions arranged by the Yuan family for Yuan Shu, maybe he will be in the general trend at that time. There is no way that the Yuan family has too much heritage, and the Nanyang County and Runan County for Yuan Shu are almost all the kind of large counties that are one county top and one state, and the combined population of the 2 counties is almost 5 million, which is not counting the rest of Yuzhou. If it weren't for Yuan Shu's muddled head and corrupted such a solid foundation, even if he wanted to be king, It would be a trouble for other princes to clean up. So Chen Shi also included Yuzhou in his own strategy. Of course, this is just thinking, and because he needs a complete Yuzhou, not a dilapidated Yuzhou, the time to do it must be early enough. That is to say, at the same time as swallowing Qingju, it is necessary to withdraw the defense of the southern part of Mount Tai to induce Yuan Shu to take the bait. Of course, these are just Chen Shi's thoughts, but he knows very well that once Liu Bei begins to attack Qingju and Yuan Shu begins to play the idea of Mount Tai, Cao Cao will never miss such a good opportunity, and this is Chen Shi's biggest opportunity. Chen Shi knows Cao Cao's daring to take risks, and he also knows Shi Jizai's extreme vision, and he will never let go of this opportunity. So even if it is so long in advance, Chen Shi will be prepared, and in the future, there will be time to check and fill in the gaps, and when he takes it out in 3 or 5 years, even if it is a strategist of Joshu's level, Chen Shi is sure to beat him dizzy, and the fool must have a win. Not to mention that Chen Shi knows that he is not very stupid. Chen Shi sat on horseback and thought about the big strategy in the next few years, but he didn't know how much shock the princes of the world the behavior of the next few years had been. Don't check your arrangement. No matter what your plan, always only stare at your heart, grasp your heart to design a layout for you. Check the layout may be omitted, and there may be omissions in the planning of thinking, but who can see through your temperament and your heart to plan? Or who will doubt if you see through it? Chapter 48, Turning to Yuzhou. If I work more than 1 day a day, will there be more votes? The army has been out for more than half a month, and if it weren't for the infantry dragging it all the way, it would have reached Mount Tai now, and Chen Shi, who could be delusional on the road, had already been delusional, and the rest was loneliness. Xuandagong, we are only in Chenliu now, and it will take another half a month to reach the Taishan County Administrative Office. Chen Shi lay on horseback and didn't care about his demeanor at all. Anyway, Liu Bei already knew that he was lazy. Well, I can arrive in Fenggao in 12 or 13 days, and I will recruit Sichuan as the county magistrate, and I hope Sichuan will not refuse. Liu Bei smiled and said, he admired Chen Shi's ability very much, especially he had heard a sentence, the political strategy of a person with a good strategy would not be too bad, and vice versa, and Chen Shi belonged to a person with a good strategy in his eyes, and the political strategy would not be too bad. As for the inspection, Liu Bei did not carry out it. Xuandagong doesn't say it, I will also pay attention to this position. After all, compared with military strategy and planning, I am more sure of how to get money and how to make my subordinates rich. Chen Shi didn't postpone it at all, he didn't have the habit of pushing around, and in the end he pretended to be forced to accept it, but in fact he was happy in his heart. Sichuan, are you more politically selective? Liu Bei was shocked, and then he was overjoyed. In his opinion, Chen Shi belonged to the type of targeted, saying that the political strategy was stronger than the strategy. Then it was not a joke, at least it would not be weaker than the strategy, and Chen Shi's plan he had seen it, which was terrifying. I guess so. At least it's better than planning and military strategy. Chen Shi sighed and said, his plan is more based on historical inertia and the character of those people. To be honest, I really haven't come into contact with these things before, at most I've seen it in books. As for the political strategy, to put it simply, it is how to make the people under the rule become rich. This is at least a little clue, which is much better than the plan on paper. That's great. Liu Bei didn't say much, just replied with the last sentence, but looking at his happy expression, he knew that he was in a good mood. Xuandagong, go to Yingchuan, now with your reputation, you may be able to recruit 1 or 2 of the few I told you at the beginning. After Chen Shi was silent for a while, he began to talk about other things, and the dream lineup or something appeared in his mind again. No matter how likely it was good to have the opportunity to chase his dreams. Yingchuan? Liu Bei glanced at Chen Shi, then looked back at the long marching troops, and his chest gushed out with pride. Let's go. We took a detour to Yuzhou, and happened to fight the autumn wind at Yuan Shu's place. How can I say that I also helped him and Sun Wentai to be a peacemaker, and it is not an exaggeration to supply him with it. It's not an exaggeration at all. If we go to Yuzhou, even if we can't get those talents in Yingchuan, let's go to Chao County, where there is a fierce general who can be regarded as the top general in the world, and it is estimated that the third brother still can't win. Chen Shi smiled, and saw Zhong Fei eavesdropping with his ears perked up, so he said thievingly, What, Sichuan, who do you think I can't beat? Zhong Fei's loud voice directly extinguished Liu Bei's words. Chen Shi looked Zhong Fei up and down for a long time, sighed deeply and said, I really can't win. Just look at the third brother's figure is a little different from others, and his strength is also a bit worse. Hey Tilda. Chen Shi Standard is ridiculing Zhong Fei. How is Xu Chuchang? He doesn't know at all. Anyway, history records that this guy is more than 8 feet long, with a large waist of 10 circumferences, a majestic appearance, and extraordinary courage. And then look at Zhong Fei is also strong, with muscle bumps all over his body, and he has actually developed for the second time recently, and his big arms are already comparable to Zhao Yun's legs, and he is a warrior at first glance, but there is
Still some gap with the so-called waist of 10 circumferences. Speaking of Guan Yu, Zhong Fei, Zhao Yun, plus Hua Xiong, these four masters stand together. Zhong Fei looks like an iron lump, smashing people to death. Guan Yu looks like a big knife, powerful and powerful, powerful and heavy. Hua Xiong and Guan Yu are similar. Simply put, it is a weakened version of Guan Yu. As for Zhao Yun, well, as long as Zhao Yun doesn't say it, others will definitely treat this guy as a civil official. Tell me where he is and what is his name. My old Zhong wants him to understand that strength and body are not necessarily linked. Zhong Fei waved his fist, and the air burst into flames, then showed his white teeth and said with a grin, "You can see it when we pass by Chao Kingdom in a few days, and he will make you understand what brute force is." Chen Shi turned his head and said casually, saying that when he turned his head, he had already seen Guan Yu wiping his Qinglong Yangyu knife with silk cloth. Zhao Yun was also wiping his spear, and Hua Xiong was angering at his big knife. Is this planning for everyone to practice their hands together? In fact, there is also a master here in Chen Liu. I guess that one-on-one, Brother Yun is sure that Brother Yun will retreat with his whole body in our group, but unfortunately that guy doesn't know where to get through now. Hey Tilda, Chen Shi said helplessly. I really hope that Jianwei will jump out and stand in the middle of the road to rob, or chase a tiger with internal qi for a while. Guan Yu has become more majestic. I heard that he and Zhong Fei have been constantly improving recently. I think it is also because I have met too many masters this time. As for Zhao Yun, it is still the same situation as before. I can't feel the existence of the breath. It seems to be a weak mess, but as soon as I make a shot, it is so strong. Zhong Fei was still entangled with the guy named Xu Chu. He had made up his mind that he must beat up the guy as soon as he saw him, so that the guy would understand that his strength was the strongest in the world, and this was the power that even Liu Biyu recognized. Well, for this aspect, Chen Shi is too lazy to explain. Anyway, he knows a little better. If Zhong Fei really only has brute force with Xu Chu, he may even lose his pants. From any point of view, it is not a human power. Of course, even if Zhong Fei plays for real, he still can't win even if he uses any tricks, and the possibility of a draw accounts for more than 90%. Xu Chu's brute strength was enough to make almost everyone who fought with him feel sick, except for of course Liu Biyu, Zhao Yun, and Jian Wei. These three Liu Biyu represented the perfect combination of skill, strength, and speed. Zhao Yun represented the perfect combination of extreme speed and skill, and Jian Wei was the perfect combination of extreme strength and speed. These three can be said to have a way to restrain Xu Chu's already abnormal power, especially Jian Wei. It is estimated that he is the only one who can rely on brute force to beat Xu Chu to disgust. Only Xu Chu has always relied on his own strength to disgust others. But in history, he officially debuted when he met Jian Wei, and Xu Chu did not take any advantage with brute force. As for Jian Wei, it is estimated that he just felt that he had finally met a guy who could compete with him. This is why Xu Chu singled out many people and did not lose. As for why he did not win, it can only be said that Xu Chu's speed is too slow. The waist size of 10 circumferences sounds really good, but this body shape is indeed fatal for speed. If it is not Xu Chu's strength is indeed strong enough, it is extremely difficult for him to mix with the top generals. As for Jian Wei, the strength may be only slightly stronger than Xu Chu, or even basically the same, but because of the speed, the overall strength is far away from Xu Chu. This is the difference. Chapter 49 Yingchuan Hometown. The army was stationed outside the Yingchuan County office, and to be honest, Liu Bei's arrival frightened the Yangzhai Taisho to death, although this was the Yingchuan administrative office, but more than 10,000 people were stationed outside the city, and everyone was scared to death, especially when the situation was unclear in troubled times. Chen Liang, the governor of Yangzhai, directly blocked the city gate and mobilized all the protective forces in the city to guard against Liu Bei's siege. After all, the Han dynasty was not finished, and more than 10,000 troops were mobilized in the territory, and they would never be allowed to enter the city without an order. After Liu Bei took the general's order and put it up from under the city wall, Chen Liang finally figured out that this was just a false alarm. Of course, he also saw that he couldn't go to his territory no matter how he went back to Mount Tai, but at this time, as long as he was not stupid, he would never dwell on this kind of problem. But he didn't want to provoke this feudal official who looked like a military and political official, and this kind of person was not comparable to a county governor like him who had no military power. To put it bluntly, Liu Bei is now attacking the city, killing him, and then finding someone to take his place, and then reporting to the central government. In fact, no one cares about it at all in this chaotic period. Chen Juansho is polite. It is not appropriate to pass through this place, but in order to rule peace, I have to go to Yingchuan, a place of outstanding people, to find one or two talents. Liu Bei gave Chen Liang a lot of face, and when he saw the other party standing behind the city gate, he was not a little domineering, but he politely bowed his hand and handed Chen Liang a step. Xuandagong is polite. This governance place should be balanced between civil governance and martial arts. Taishan County is full of bandits. Xuandagong soldiers are brave, the soldiers are strong, and it is not a problem to defeat the bandits, but there is a lack of civil officials. But our Yingchuan is a famous scholar. Chen Liang got off the donkey on the slope, and became very interested in the large number of cavalry under Liu Bei, hinting with a ha-ha. The other party fought ha-ha, Liu Bei followed ha-ha, these soldiers are his lifeblood, Liu Bei himself is not enough points, Chen Liang still wants to pick it out of it? What a joke, give you a step to go down, not give you a pole to let you climb up, and actually dare to hit the attention of the soldiers. Chen Shi really doesn't know what his own family thinks. Set up a banquet, catch the wind and wash the dust, reward the soldiers. I don't know if Chen Liang is dizzy or optimistic about Liu Bei. Anyway, the treatment really didn't say anything, and specially invited a big family in the city to come to Liu Bei to pick up the wind and wash the dust, saying that there is actually Chen Shi's father-in-law in it.
Zichuan, why are you here?
After drinking and eating, Chen Shi saw Fan Liang nodding with his eyes, so he slipped out of the banquet. Liu Bei was not generally tolerant of the few people under his command now. Uncle is good, she has gone to Hulao Pass to meet the princes of the world, the ambitions of the princes have almost been revealed on the table, the anger of the Guangwu lineage is exhausted, I am now following Xuan de Gong, I plan to mix with a rich man. Chen Shi smiled and said, Fan Liang is credible, he doesn't mind saying some shocking things.
Be careful. Fan Liang shouted.
That is, Uncle, I won't say anything to others, Uncle thinks of Xuan de Gong.
Chen Shi said with a smile. It's indescribable.
Fan Liang was silent for a long time and then said, the image of a prince.
Just the image of a prince.
Chen Shi had a face full of jokes, and there was not much respect for Fan Liang, his memory was more about relatives, and he didn't need too much etiquette for relatives, and to be honest, etiquette was for outsiders. The image of the emperor, but it should have been the evil of losing his wife, but now he doesn't know what he was suppressed, the original upheaval and displacement, the late bloomer was suddenly promoted to the broad road, this is not the appearance of the founding emperor, without enough hardships, it is impossible to establish a country. Fan Liang was silent for a long time and then spoke. Uncle's eyes are still so sharp. Chen Shi smiled and said, the 1,000-year-old family finally has some knowledge that is different from ordinary people, and even if it declines, it is not comparable to ordinary families.
Your face is... Fan Liang frowned.
Uncle, let's talk about Sister Fan Jian, don't look at my face.
Chen Shi said with a smile.
The topic was instantly diverted. How can the appearance of one's daughter be important? If you don't marry, you will pay twice the poll tax. Fan Liang is not unaffordable, but cannot afford to lose this person. Jenna is very good, just wait for you to marry her. It can be seen that Liu Xuanda is very good to you, since you have chosen your own path. I won't say anything, leave with Jenna, just notify your uncle and aunt when you get married. I will go to Mount Tai when the time comes. As for you, Zichuan, to be honest, I underestimate you. Fan Liang first smiled, and then his face gradually calmed down, and he praised Chen Shi.
Just take it away. This is not in line with etiquette.
Chen Shi frowned and said, as for whether you underestimate me or not, I know that I have a few pounds and tails. You can just take it, since you want to start a business, you should start a family first. Cao Mengde revealed you when he was gossiping, what do you think the princes will think of you? Fan Liang waved his hand, signaling Chen Shi not to care about these small details. The Fan family was no longer the high-ranking family of the past, and the marriage contract had already been made, just take it away. It's nothing, Cao Gong has a good subordinate, I think he wants Liu Biyu to do Li Yu and Dong Zhuo, and directly pick the distrust of the three on the table. Originally, as long as he was open and honest at this time, it would be difficult for the Discord strategy to be effective for the three of them in the future. But unfortunately, Li Yu is wise, Liu Biyu is resourceful, Dong Zhuo is tyrannical. And picking them on the table will make them even more distrustful. Chen Shi shrugged his shoulders and said, this kind of purely yarn conspiracy is bullying. After hearing Fan Liang's words, Chen Shi understood that the first capable minister under Cao Cao appeared, and Shi Jizai, who was not seen in the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, finally appeared, and Cao Cao officially began to hoard his own strength, and Zhao Ji, who also defected to Cao Cao at the beginning, has basically made the big killer Tunshin 7 or 80, and I think he will be able to get started soon. Zichuan, it seems that you are very proficient in these things, I don't want that sick and weak teenager to have grown to this extent now, and I think Brother Chen will still be surprised. Fan Liang listened to Chen Shi's comment, looked at his careless expression and said with emotion. Seeing that Chen Shi did not speak, Fan Liang thought for a while and said, Zichuan, I think you came to Yingchuan in addition to looking for me and Jenna. I think you also have the idea of visiting Liu Xuanda, but remember not to go to the Chen family, unless one day the Chen family finds you and hopes to use your line to catch Liu Xuanda. Don't worry about the Chen family at other times, the big family has their way of doing things.
And you don't have enough ability to touch these things. Chapter 50 The Family.
Chen Shi smiled and didn't answer, he knew this very well, and he knew another point better, that is, the Chen family was now pressing the treasure on Chen Kun, even if they saw him, they only regarded him as an idle chess, and even said that he was directly regarded as an outcast. However, I have to admit Chen Kun's excellence. After Sun Yu's death, the regulator of Wei's internal affairs was this, which can be said to be a rare politician in the entire history of the Three Kingdoms, and his 9-rank Zhongzhen completely completed the family's control of the country, which was almost a banner for all families. Talent is not enough to describe his ability. It is difficult to show his talent. It can be said that the Belle of the Sky is beautiful, but it is a pity that Sun Yu has completely exploded Chen Kun from morality to ability, which is simply a disaster for Chen Kun, a peerless disaster, especially although Sun Yu is said to be from the same hometown as him, but the two of them cannot meet, and the other party's ability is only collected by the retainers, which means that Chen Kun does not know much about his fellow townsmen. After Sun Yu arrived in Caoying, Chen Kun was conceited that he was talented, he could do what Sun Yu could do, and he felt that he could do better than Sun Yu, so he kicked Liu Bei, who was chatting with him very well, and joined Cao Cao's camp, ready to rely on his own ability to make Sun Yu ashamed of himself, and then automatically abdicated to give way to the virtuous, and then let the other party be his deputy for the sake of the other party's fellow townsmen. After all, the old Chen family is a well-known Yingchuan nobleman, and it is also appropriate to mention the fellow townsmen. With this idea, Chen Kun kicked Liu Bei away and jumped to Caoying, but after really facing Sun Yu, Chen Kun realized that he seemed to be not Sun Yu's opponent from top to bottom, from moral literacy to dealing with people from any angle, and the most helpless thing was that his buddy and comrade-in-arms Sima Yi did not seem to be the opponent of Sun Yu's nephew Sun Yu, and Chen Kun's whole person was gloomy. In other words, Chen Kun's whole person fell on the lack of careful observation, so his buddy and comrade-in-arms Sima Yi learned a lesson and opened his eyes to observe with his eyes wide open at any time, and then Zhuge Liang was dragged to death. In short, this whole is a tragedy. Chen Shi doesn't want to say how much the tragedy is. If it weren't for Sun Yu's death, killing Cao Cao to prevent Cao Cao from entering the throne of Wei Gong, Cao Cao's brain would have problems again, and he began to be stubborn, and then Sun Yu knelt down, and Chen Kun had room to get ahead. Otherwise, according to Sun Yu's physical fitness, maybe Chen Kun would have no room to get ahead in his life. After Sun Yu fell, Chen Kun survived, and soon after, Sun Yu also died. Sima Yi finally had the opportunity to be active. Anyway, Cao Cao at that time was no longer normal. Simply put, he thought he was very good X. In fact, he was stupid X. And now Chen Shi wants to form a dream camp. The generals must be the best, and the civil servants must also be the best. Is Chen Kun the best? Obviously not. Sun Yu is not dead yet. It is said that when Sun Yu died, Zhuge Liang was not arbitrarily exuding his brilliance, and the dream camp naturally had one stubble after another, and it must be the best. Chen Kun was not, so he was too lazy to get a substitute to play until necessary. These are Chen Shi's thoughts. Whether Sun Yu can get it is two words, to say that Chen Kun is still good, but it is a pity that he is a direct descendant of the Chen family. He is a branch of the Chen family, there is no comparison at all, and now he will only be ridden on his head. What Chen Shi is looking for is a helper, not an uncle. The Chen family is vague in his memory. What he can remember is the plundering of the Chen family after his father's death. Businessman. The status is still too low, even if it was for the family at the beginning, but when you fall, you will not be recognized by the family. There is nothing to say about these Chen Shi. There is nothing wrong with the promotion of those relatives. The money is dazzling, it is normal, but Chen Shi did not have the ability to protect this inheritance at the beginning. Therefore, although Chen Shi thanked the Chen family for giving him the opportunity to be educated, he did not have much affection for the Chen family, and he paid back what should be returned. Chen Shi was waiting for the Chen family to come to him one day, before which he would not go to the Chen family. He believed that this day would not be too far away. 3 days later, in the main house of the Chen family, Chen Kun looked at the information sent by the family general, frowned slightly, smiled contemptuously, and casually threw the white silk on the table. This kind of trivial matter doesn't need to be sent in the future, and I didn't come to worship the Lord when I returned to Yingchuan, and I really thought I had found the Ming Lord? The original education of the Chen family has been forgotten. Since you don't bow to the master's family, then don't claim to be the children of the Chen family in Yingchuan. Go cross out his name, and then send it back to his Chen Zichuan's hands, so that he understands that the Chen family is not much more than him, and he is not much less. Chen Shi sat in his own home, the housekeeper sat next to him. Chen Lan used a wine jug to pour wine for Chen Shi, and Chen Shi was waiting. Chen Shi was waiting for the Chen family's disposal of him. The Chen family valued the gifts, and the three kings became famous for their virtue and filial piety, so the Chen family's family rules attached great importance to these superficial rules, and Chen Shi now wanted to know what kind of punishment he would give to a person who went 3 days late, ignoring the punishment of the clan members who were neither light nor heavy, or being used as a model. Seeing the servant of the Chen family announcing to Chen Shi with contempt that he was expelled from the family, Chen Shi smiled. He didn't expect that he would really be set up as a model. It was Chen Kun who wanted to deal with him, and the last trace of contact with the Chen family was broken. Chen Shi didn't have too many feelings. The Chen family itself did not belong to him. Anyway, the connection between the Chen family and him is equivalent to nothing, and when he heard the news, the housekeeper turned pale, and cried directly after the Chen family servant left, and kept bowing to Chen Liang's father's tablet. "Get up, old man, it's nothing, the family is such a thing, when we are strong enough, they will lean up, looking at Chen Kun will choose Cao Mengde, the Chen family will also decline, and in the end we will become the clan family, that's just a joke." Looking at the extremely desolate housekeeper and Chen Lan with a dim face, Chen Shi smiled. They don't understand that troubled times are the knot of the family's delivery, and every inheritance of the ancient family is extremely bloody, and there will always be some people who are forced to stand on the wrong side. So what the family has to do is to divide the outstanding children and divide them into those princes that the family elders are optimistic about. Chen Shi was divided into Liu Bei's banner by this time, maybe in the eyes of the patriarch of the Chen family. Chen Shi would understand, after all, only the direct line, the clan family, the rest were slaves, and the blood exchange of the aristocracy was completed in this way, so if he was expelled from the family in troubled times, as long as he was the winner in the end, then the patriarch would fall on him. For these Chen Shi is too lazy to explain. It will be enough to rebuild the family when the time comes, but he will not accept any people from the Chen family, the road is still in his own hands. Chen Shi is very confident that Chen Kun will be defeated by him. The reason is very simple, after he has avoided all the troubles, Liu Bei will unify the world, Chen Kun will not join Liu Bei's camp, it's that simple, it will be liquidated after settling the accounts. Now what does he love, how is it, there is always a time when the Chen family asks for it. Chapter 51, The Family, 2. Chen Shi is a little depressed now, mainly because he misestimated Chen Kun's reaction. Originally, troubled times are a family game, when regaining their own status, at this time the branches, concubines, and so on will try. Generally speaking, after the family patriarch discovers this hint from within, he will deal with it, most of them will be released directly, or the situation is unclear, and the family will be separated when it is not easy to bet on the treasure, and then the more serious thing is to be expelled from the house. This more representative Yuan Shu, it is said that if Yuan Shu wins, the head of the Yuan family will automatically move from Yuan Shao's head to Yuan Shu's head. Even if he was expelled from the house by Yuan Shao before, when the general trend was established, it would be Yuan Shu who drove Yuan Shao out of the house when it was recorded. After all, only the winner was qualified to inherit the family business. But Chen Shi did not feel that his IQ and behavior were the same as Yuan Shu's. Chen Shi has just released the information that he wants to be independent, and he was kicked out of the house, and Chen Shi was immediately upset. It is said that the way to deal with an insignificant character family like him is to give him some entanglement and let him go out by himself, but he didn't expect to directly drive him out of the family this time, although the parents' tablets are still kept in the ancestral hall, and they have not completely broken their roots, but it is obvious that they have done a little too ruthlessly. Chen Shi thought carefully about his current situation, and finally looked at the direction of the Chen family with a gloomy face. He already understood what Chen Kun was doing, and couldn't help but sneer. Is killing chickens to warn monkeys? Chen Shi asked himself, and then smiled. Chen Kun was too confident. He really thought that he didn't need to bet. Even the Zun family could not guarantee that the lord he chose would be correct, so he put pressure on Yuan Shao and Cao Cao at the same time, and the Chen family really thought that Chen Kun was a saint who came out once in 1,000 years? Chen Shi has basically figured out Chen Kun's way of thinking, and guesses that in Chen Kun's opinion, the wise lord he chooses will definitely rule the world under his assistance. It's a pity that he chose the right lord. The problem is that people are not completed with his assistance. Chen Kun, who is so confident that he is conceited, only when he meets Zun Yu, who exploded him from head to toe, will he know that there is a sky outside, and now Chen Kun is probably still in a young and frivolous conceit, for the older middle two of this period can't be simulated with conventional thinking, let him go. After figuring this out, Chen Shi has nothing to worry about. Whether he is kicked out of the family, there are more things he can do without constraints. As for Chen Kun, there will be times to watch his jokes in the future. As soon as Liu Bei learned that Chen Shi had been expelled from the Chen family, he rushed over with Guan, Zhong, Zhao, and Hua Xiong. Since Sichuan is homeless because of preparation, let's prepare it in the future. With my bite to eat, Sichuan is definitely indispensable. Liu Bei took Chen Shi's hand, didn't ask Chen Shi why he was expelled from the Chen family, and said solemnly, "H, Bird Chen's family, Lao Zhong, I'll call the door now and let them understand that it's powerful." Zhong Fei shouted indignantly. Chen Shi's heart warmed. These people didn't care about being expelled from the house. After all, in this era, being expelled from the house meant that morality was lost, but now these people didn't care about this. Third brother doesn't have to be like this. I'm independent by myself. The Chen family will give an explanation in the future. Don't worry, they will definitely give an explanation. Chen Shi said to several people with confidence on his face. Seeing that Chen Shi was still the same as usual, Liu Bei and the others were relieved, and they were most worried that Chen Shi was in a state of collapse because of this matter. Sichuan, Yingchuan is indeed an outstanding place, although it has not obtained the great talents you mentioned,
but it has also recruited a group of scholars. Liu Bei said with emotion that his Han clan relatives and the identity of the governor of Taishan County, as well as the more than 10,000 elite forces, are still very attractive to these scholars who want to show their talents. Xuan Dagong didn't see Zun Wenruo? Chen Shi said curiously. It stands to reason that as long as Zun Yu is at home, even if he is unwilling to accept your recruitment, he will have a discussion with you. How could he not see it? Alas, Shi Yun didn't see it. His fourth brother Chen said that he went out to visit friends, and he might not be able to come back in 3 or 5 months. Liu Bei said helplessly, I had to put down the invitation and gifts, and ask him to wait for his eldest brother to return and speak on his behalf.
Zun Chen?
Chen Shi felt that his eyelids were constantly beating. There were many talents in the Zun family. Zun Chen was one of them. If he didn't remember correctly, he seemed to be Yuan Shao's mastermind. The Zun family played hedging, and the two families naturally could not be too strong on the one hand, and too weak on the other. That is to say, if Zun Yu's politics were slightly 100, Zun Chen would have to have a 92-3. Think about it again. Zun Chen seems to have started to get a lot of territory for Yuan Shao. Han Fu was persuaded by Zun Chen, and then during the Battle of Guanju, he suppressed Qian Feng, Zhu Shou, Shu Yu, and Shen Pei appeared as the mastermind. And the most important thing is that the entire Battle of Guanju did not say a word, and after the Battle of Guanju, this guy disappeared, just like Li Yu. Well, this is a mysterious person. In terms of ability, it is estimated that it is slightly better than Zhu Shou or something. It is a character, you can dig it up. Thinking of this, Chen Shi spoke, Xuan Dagong, since we haven't seen Wenruo, let's go to Yeruo. The Zun family can handle state affairs by pulling out anyone. Don't worry, that family can pull people casually. Can't find the eldest brother, find the younger brother. Can't find the younger brother to find the nephew. Anyway, if people are willing to go with us, we want it. Anyway, Taishan lacks scholars, and we want it when it comes. Liu Bei thought for a moment, thinking that at the door of Zun's house at that time, Zun Chen's performance of advancing and retreating in a moderate manner, so he nodded and recognized Chen Shi's statement. Liu Bei and his party took Chen Shi to Zun's house, and it was another big gift, but this time it was fun. Zun Yu, Zun Yang, Zun Chen, Zun Yu. This generation can be arrested and made all of them are not at home. Zun Yu went to visit friends, Zun Yang went to travel, Zun Zhon went to the north to find the Ming Lord, Zun Yu went to find his uncle Zun Yu. Well, Chen Shi is now a fool and understands that the Zun family does not want to bet on Liu Bei now, but also, he is indeed a little difficult to be a strong man now. Liu Bei seems to be beautiful now, but in fact he is a tree without roots. If you want these people to identify with you, and come to join you, you must at least come up with something that can let them see hope, otherwise it is absolutely impossible. Xuan Dagong, it seems that we are really unlucky. Chen Shi's face still maintained a smile. The family asked for safety, and then went further. Since they felt that it was not the time, then there would be no chance in the future. But Chen Shi felt that it was a pity that it was probably impossible for the whole dream camp. Hey, this is fate. As for the other Chen Shi, he didn't feel sorry for it. What he should do without these people still had to be done. Since these families were not optimistic about Liu Bei, then Chen Shi wanted to ** these families. Let them stare at Liu Bei, a mat weaver and shoe seller, how the foundationless people stepped onto the supreme throne step by step. He was very interested in seeing the regretful eyes of those people. Yes, bad luck. Liu Bei didn't have a hit expression at all. He had experienced enough suffering, and this matter was of no importance to him at all. Chapter 52 Lost in the East Corner, collected in the Mulberry Elm. Xuan Dagong is open-minded. You must know that Zun Yu is the talent of Wang Zue, comparable to Zhong Liang, the Marquis of Liu, and Zun Yu is a rare mastermind in the world. Chen Shi said with a smile. So what? No matter how good you can't get, it's not as good as what you have, Zichuan, do you think? Liu Bei looked back at Chen Shi in awe. Chen Shi was silent for a long time, and said, I won't let you down, at least I don't think I'll be weaker than them. Let's go. Since the family doesn't welcome us, then let's show the strength to make the world tremble under our hands, and make them regret the choices they have made now. Liu Bei looked at Chen Shi. He could feel the strong self-confidence in Chen Shi, the kind of self-confidence that looked at the world, a kind of arrogance, rendering the few people around him. Okay, let's show the strength that makes the clans of the world look sideways, make the world tremble under us, and make them regret their choices now. Liu Bei stretched out his hand and said proudly. Guan Zhong and Zhao Huaxiong all had fiery faces. Chen Shi knew very well that what he said at this moment would definitely reach the ears of all the families in Yingchuan, but what he wanted was this effect. Since the other party had already given shamelessness, Liu Bei had already come to visit. Even if he was not ready to become an official, at least he should meet him, and as a result, he would be shameless, so tear his face apart. Originally, Chen Shi planned to carry this sentence by himself, but he didn't expect Liu Bei to repeat it and then reach out to himself. Let's go, Xuandegang. Yingchuan has no room for us to reach out. Since we have said this, then the family is waiting to see our jokes. Believe me, in 3 years at most, we will set foot here again, but that time everyone will bow for you.
Chen Shi had a smile on his face, but he couldn't hide the coldness, the pride of the traverser. You won't understand. Okay, let's go. Liu Bei didn't say much, turned over his horse, rode his horse and whipped towards the east gate of Yingchuan. Since Yingchuan no longer had room for him to continue to reach out, then he would not waste his efforts. Liu Bei didn't even attend the send-off banquet, and left Yingchuan directly with his army and his deep memory. Xuandagong is my fault this time, although the family has enough talents, but we can only fight for the talents of the poor now, and we are not qualified for them. Chen Shi said with a sneer, and then thought that Liu Bei had recruited some scholars in Yingchuan, and he wanted to talk about it better than nothing. Oh, when I said that, I thought of a fun thing. There was a ranger who wanted to defect to me, saying that he wanted to be my chief clerk. I took the exam and found that this guy didn't know anything, and asked the villagers around him, only to find out that the guy dressed as a scholar was actually a ranger, and he was also a famous local ranger. I didn't know what to think at the time, so I said to him, "You read more books, and come to me when you are familiar with the spring and autumn period and the art of war, and I will definitely recruit you at that time." After saying that, Liu Bei laughed. Zichuan, do you know what that guy's reaction was? Chen Shi raised his eyebrows, thinking that it wouldn't be so coincidental, but he still took over the stubble. That guy must have said that he will definitely read the spring and autumn annals, thoroughly understand Sun Wu's art of war, and let Xuandagong keep the seat. He will definitely come, at most 3 or 5 years, at least 1 to 2 years, right, Xuandagong? Liu Bei was stunned for a moment, and looked at Chen Shi a little strangely. Zichuan wouldn't have been next to him at that time. How could he know so clearly? Is that guy called Shan Fu or Shu Shu? Chen Shi said with his forehead covered. Shu Shu? Liu Bei asked puzzledly. You weren't there at the time? It's really him. Chen Shi rolled his eyes. This is considered a loss in the East. Take it away. Shu Shu is Liu Bei's dish. What Zun Yu, how can Chen Kun look down on Liu Bei as a family member? What's wrong? Is there something wrong with him? Liu Bei asked curiously. Xuandagong still leaves a position of chief clerk for that one. He finally abandoned Wukongwen, made up his mind to embark on a different path. This person is resolute, and he will not change if he makes up his mind. Since he has abandoned Wukongwen, he will definitely be one of the best strategists in the world after a few years. Chen Shi said solemnly. He didn't want Liu Bei to treat Shu Shu as a joke. If that's the case, Shu Shu's brain would be to give the Woe Dragon and Phoenix chicks to others. It would be really not fun. Zichuan is very familiar with this person. Liu Bei first nodded in agreement with Chen Shi, and then asked curiously. Chen Shi sighed in his heart. Liu Bei didn't ask anything else, and didn't even say what to do if Shu Shu didn't succeed in the future, and directly agreed to Chen Shi. It's not familiar. He was originally a ranger in Changsha. He killed people for his friends before, crossed the street with a sword, and after being taken down, everyone was afraid of his momentum and no one dared to tell him his identity. And later he was rescued, and the matter was over. But since he said that he wanted to abandon martial arts and follow literature, he would definitely do this. And this person was famous for saying the same. Chen Shi said extremely solemnly. Chen Shi can't say that Shu Shu is actually a *** now, after abandoning the sword and following the text a few days ago, and then after studying hard for up to 5 years, his mentality has changed greatly. First the original brave and ruthless temperament has been completely worn away, and then the whole person has become elegant. And the most important thing is that it only took 5 years for this guy to wrestle with the world's top strategist, and his talent is simply maddening. As a knight who dances with guns and swords all day long, after enlightenment one day, he reached the level of the world's top strategists in just a few years. Think about how long it took Guo Jiashu and you to reach their level, and then think about how long it took Shu Shu. You will understand that Shu Shu's talent is the most terrifying, but it is a pity that his talent is late. I have to say that ** is always a trail. To mix well, you must be able to do it. One can lift the pen to settle the world, and we can immediately determine the world, so that the black can be said to be white, and the white can also be black. What is it? Who dares to disobey? I think Shu Shu abandoned martial arts and achieved when due with this great dream. Oh, I see. Liu Bei nodded. In that case, I will leave him such a position as a chief clerk, but when the time comes, I must take a good exam. Well, when the time comes, you will pull all the civil servants and military generals under you who can take your hands to the school together, and that guy will definitely be able to hold on. Chen Shi said with a smile. Since he picked up Shu Shu, the baby, there is nothing else, although Shu Shu is still an unripe green fruit, but since he is still hanging on the tree, sooner or later it will ripen, and it will definitely be theirs when the time comes, and he will also bring his 2 comrades in arms together. Chapter 53. Forge ahead for the goal. Forget about the 10th watch. Look, I've updated. Chen Shi is ruthless. Doesn't the family look down on them? Then let the family look up to it. The original plan has been made. Chen Shi once again began to check and fill in the gaps. Persistent people are terrifying. Especially this persistent person has a long-term vision,
a precise plan, a phased goal and an ultimate goal, and a bunch of helpers, which is not scary, but a shocking force.
Still not good.
Chen Shi scratched his head and skimmed the cloth in his hand aside, and until now he was still a scum writing on the bamboo slip.
Zichuan, you still look very worried lately, what's wrong?
Liu Bei looked at Chen Shi with a melancholic face and asked curiously. Xian Degong, look, if there is anything wrong, let's just do it if it's okay, it's just a little slow. Chen Shi handed his semi-finished plan to Liu Bei. Let them be arrogant for another 2 years, and clean up these scum when we free up our hands. Liu Bei took the smeared white cloth in Chen Shi's hand, and the more he looked at it, the more he was surprised, and finally sighed completely. God treats me Liu Bei well, according to this law, I may be able to frighten the princes of the world in 3 years, and what questions can I say?
It's too slow.
Chen Shi scratched his head and said, it takes too much time, mainly to appease the people, and it will take at least a year to win the hearts of the people, otherwise this plan is excellent, but slow.
Zichuan.
Liu Bei raised his voice rarely and shouted solemnly.
What's wrong?
Chen Shi looked at Liu Bei puzzled and asked. 3 years is not long, you will only be a double 10 by then, and I am only the year of establishment, what is there to regret about us? Liu Bei said solemnly, why should Zichuan change his plan for the sake of the first and second families? Is it important that they have the general trend of the world? Looking unpleasant, I think I can take care of this group of guys while collecting the yellow turbans and annexing Qingju. Chen Shi said indignantly, if you don't give them a little color, they won't know who can mess with them and who can't mess with them. Doesn't Zhuangdegang want to see their grey faces? I think about it, but Zichuan, you have to remember that people's energy is limited, and they spend time in many aspects, and they all reach a very high level, which will affect your own lifespan. I don't want you to consume your life for such a small thing, it's not worth it.
Liu Bei looked solemn, he didn't joke.
These probably won't affect my lifespan, but since Xuan Degong doesn't want this, let's not clean them up for the time being.
Chen Shi smiled and said.
Since Liu Bei was worried that he was too tired, Chen Shi couldn't say that he would not have a problem at all. He was now a spiritually strengthened non-human, not only broad-thinking but also quick to react. It could take a day or two to make a detailed plan, but now it is less than an hour, and the speed is more than 10 times faster. It is precisely because of this that Chen Shi is not worried about dealing with too many things and working himself to death, and the things he is doing now have basically been done by people in history, without much thinking, as long as he checks and fills in the gaps. So in Liu Bei's seemingly huge plan, it is really not too difficult for Chen Shi to do. Even if Chen Shi wasn't afraid of scaring others, he now wanted to formulate a strategy plan for the 13 states of the Han Dynasty and the talent training and recruitment plan, as well as the expansion and development plan for the North and South. Look, what a lofty plan. It is still shocking in terms of its execution ability. But think about it, just a Taishan County strategy to expand the Qingju strategy, and the plan to clean up the Yingchuan family, all of which made Liu Bei worry about exhausting Chen Shi to death. If he really took out those things and didn't scare Liu Bei to death, maybe they all regard those things as Chen Shi's last words. In order not to be regarded as a monster by others, Chen Shi plans to behave normally. The food must be eaten in one bite, and the road must be walked step by step. Then let's take our time. Anyway, Liu Bei is right. After 3 years, he is still in the year of establishment. As for himself, it is only a double 10. What are you afraid of? The big guys are young. Liu Bei plans to spend 30 years to sweep the world. What is he in a hurry for? And most of it has been buried in the Lurse. After stabilizing his anxious heart, Chen Shi began to fight steadily, or to engage in the dream camp. First of all, to strengthen the dragon and phoenix and the 5 tigers. For example, Shu Shu Lu Su is not bad, forced to the middle of the dragon and phoenix. He Cao Cao has 5 schemes, then Liu Bei will do 6. Shu Chu, Gan Ning, Tai Shitzi, Zhong Liao are also good, stuffed into the 5 tigers. His old cow family has the cow family 8 tiger riders. The old Liu family doesn't give you 9, is simply sorry for the identity, and it has to be from the art of war to force, from momentum to appearance, all the way to the end. Even if it is more than the waistline, you can't lose. As for Sun Quan, the guy who is only enough to be a son, forget it. Let him stay in Yangju. Anyway, after Sun Si's death, Sun Wu, who had no enterprising spirit and was swayed by the family, was like this. Is that the village of Shu Zhuangshe mentioned by Zichuan? Liu Bei pointed to a small village in the mountains and said, it should be. Chen Shi turned his head and asked the guide, Uncle, is that Zhujiaz Huang there? I can't be an old man, I can't be an old man, the little old man said in fear, and then returned to normal again and began to speak under the appeasement of Liu Bei and Chen Shi. There is only such a Zhujiaz Huang within 100 miles of Yangzhai, and the Shu Chu that Mr. asked about. The little old man has also heard that he has defeated the bandits several times so that he cannot run wild nearby. The old man with grey beard and hair, who seems to have been mostly buried in the ground, is actually only 40 years old, a person from the end of the Eastern Han Dynasty.
Ida is up to you.
Once she enters the state, he will officially call a few people, not brother or something. Leave it to Lao Zhong. Zhong Fei patted his chest and replied loudly, and then slapped his horse and rushed directly out of the crowd, listening to the snake spear soaring towards Zhu Jiezhuang, and shouted while leaving, Shu Chu came out to see me. Shu Chu, who was gnawing on pig's trotters, only felt a vibration in the beams and then dust fell all over his rice bucket, and then he heard a sentence from outside, Shu Chu came to see me. Suddenly furious, finally not having to read a book and eat a good meal, but was stirred up by the chop outside. Standing up, Shu Chu took out a big knife from the side, trotted out from the main gate, and scolded while running, Don't run, Grandpa Shu wants you to know the price of angering me today. As he spoke, he grabbed the rolling stone on the side, and his entire arm quickly expanded to become as thick as his thigh, and then Shu Chu threw the huge stone towards the place where the sound came from like a stone. I saw that the boulder seemed to be in front of Shu Chu, and then I only heard a loud sound, a white smoke ring appeared in front of Shu Chu's hand, and then the boulder flew almost parallel to Zhong Fei's direction like a missile. Chapter 54 In Human Power. Zhao Yun wiped his weapon with a pause. Guan Yu's action of stroking his beard was also a pause, directly pulling his beard and not moving. Hu Xiong felt that his eyes were going to be blinded by the high-speed flying boulder. This is really human power. From seeing that small dot to the moment that Smolder fell to the ground and smashed a small crater into an instant, if it weren't for the strengthening of mental power and the greatly improved dynamic vision, Chen Shi felt that he couldn't see clearly. This power is absolutely not normal. This is hundreds of pounds of stone, directly skimming above the speed of sound. If it is left in the previous world, it is estimated that it will not be a problem to use bricks to hit the plane. Chen Shi felt that his worldview needed to be reconstructed again, and if he hit it directly, it was estimated that the masters who could resist it would be the masters of the internal chi separation level. Boom! There was a loud noise, and then felt a tremor from the earth. Shu Chu scratched his head, did not hear the clamor outside, and felt that the other party should be dead, so he walked back with a machete. Anyway, in his memory, basically this blow was enough to drive away the bandits. Shu Chu came out to see me. Zhong Fei was also shocked after dodging the boulder. He already understood that Chen Shi was not joking. The other party's strength was definitely first class, and suddenly his heart was filled with blood, holding the snake spear in his hand, licking his lips. Only a master can stimulate his blood. Not dead? Shu Chu's first reaction when he heard this sentence, and then he was furious, and the guy who ruined his lunch was not killed by himself, and he trotted all the way from the main gate of Zhu Jiezhuang with a big knife to kill him. Wunar thief, and report your name. Uncle Shu will not kill the nameless under the knife. Shu Chu shouted arrogantly. To be honest, he still hadn't figured out what the situation was. As for Liu Bei and his party a little far behind Zhong Fei, he didn't take it to heart, and he was very confident in his strength. Before the person arrived, the sound arrived first, and when he saw the muscle lump that was almost equivalent to a wall riding a horse, Guan Zhong's face was a little solemn, and he was really a fierce general. And Chen Shi's mind was not on Shu Chu's appearance. He knew Shu Chu's strength better than anyone else. His attention was all on what Shu Chu said. Hearing Shu Chu's arrogant shout, he immediately laughed, directly buried his head in the horse's manere, and his body couldn't stop twitching, thinking that this sentence directly made Zhong Fei furious. You must know that Liu Biyu was not so arrogant to Zhong Fei. You are the thief. Zhong Ida from Yang has arrived. Zhong Fei scolded, and then stabbed Shu Chu with a snake spear, looking like he really wanted to make a few holes in Shu Chu's body. Bell. As soon as he took over Shu Chu, he understood that Zhong Fei was the strongest master he had ever encountered, and suddenly exerted force to directly shake Zhong Fei away, and then licked his lips, tightened his big knife, and the blood in his chest made him ignore the previous anger. He longed for a battle. Instead of decadent reading those and books at home, the doctrine of the mean, what kind of things were written? Every time a bandit came, Shu Chu was the happiest time. He could carry a big knife and ride a horse to drive away the group of people, but he never tried his best to kill all those bandits, and then he would once again enter the state of reading the heavenly book, and then his father used a stick to flatten him because he didn't read books. But for Shu Chu, who had rough skin and thick flesh, his father's stick education was no different from being bitten by mosquitoes. So now he didn't read and his father didn't care about him. Shu Chu wielded a big knife and ignored Zhong Fei's attack at all. He couldn't catch up with Zhong Fei's speed, so he didn't bother to chase. Anyway, the snake spear was so long, hitting the pole and the snake spear would be missed. Shu Chu had strong confidence in his own strength. Anyway, if he couldn't figure it out, he would go up and smash it hard, and then he understood everything. Zhong Fei was a little depressed, although Shu Chu had not caused an effective attack on him at all so far, but that abnormal brute force shocked Zhong Fei's hands every time. Zhong Fei remembered that he was the king of strength, and even Liu Biyu was shocked by the huge power, and now he was actually suppressed by a barbarian. Shu Chu couldn't tell Zhong Fei's attack again, so the big knife in his hand once again burst out with a strong black light and smashed in the direction of Zhong Fei directly in front of him. This barbarian.
Zhong Fei was furious, took a deep breath, the whole person's muscles became swollen, and the tip of the spear stabbed Xu Chu's big knife fiercely. He understood. This barbarian didn't understand the skills at all, and the speed was slow enough. But the strength was too much. If you want to win, you must first suppress the opponent's strength with one blow, and then defeat the opponent directly before the other party reacts. Zhong Fei performed the heavy sword technique explained by Zhao Yun, and at that moment, the explosion sounded, and then the snake spear slammed into the tip of Xu Chu's knife as if it was several times heavier, and his goal was to knock Xu Chu's big knife away. Well, Zhong Fei's epi technique is a half-hanger, slow and powerful, but it can't stand Xu Chu's speed is even slower, and Zhong Fei's own strength is strong enough. Zhong Fei's hopeful blow finally hit the tip of Xu Chu's knife, and as soon as he started sinking Xu Chu, he felt that something was wrong, and the great strength of his arms grabbed his big knife and completely ate Zhong Fei's heavy sword technique. The two crossed horses, and when they turned the horse's head again, Zhong Fei clearly saw the rising mist on Xu Chu's body, staring at Xu Chu with bull's eyes, and the huge backlash force at that moment almost shook Zhong Fei's own snake spear out of his hand, and the skill of half-hanging was terrible. "Come again!" Xu Chu shouted excitedly. He felt that he was burning. For the first time in many years, he had this feeling. The danger struck to feel a comfort from the heart. This feeling stimulated his brain, stimulated his body, and let the power that was originally hidden in his body continue to gush out. "I should walk on the battle formation, not stay at home and read. Killing the enemy general is what I should do, and studying hard is not something I can do." For the first time, Xu Chu came up with a completely different idea from the mind that his father had been instilling in him. Zhong Fei has understood that he must not continue to compete with Xu Chu. The size of this barbarian really represents his strength. 1.5 of his own width, actually brought a half of his own strength. Fortunately, the speed is not fast, otherwise there is no need to fight. Even if the other party does not have any skills, no one can defeat it. This strength is enough to ignore the vast majority of skills. Just when Zhong Fei was about to change his style and suppress Xu Chu with speed, he saw Xu Chu's big knife shattered directly, leaving only half of the handle, and the rest turned into pieces and flew out at the moment Xu Chu wielded them. Zhong Fei was dumbfounded, and Xu Chu was also dumbfounded. A gust of wind blew, sand and dust flew. Xu Chu reacted. "Who is that? Wait a minute, I'll go change the knife, have lunch, and then fight." "I'm waiting for you. I'm hungry after a fight with you." Zhong Fei waved his hand, saying that he did not have the habit of bullying people without weapons. Xu Chu patted his horse into Zhujia's Huang, and Zhong Fei also returned to Liu Bei and his party. "How does the third brother feel? Is his hand numb? I see you fighting him to the death before. Is it cool?" "Chen," she said with a joking face. "That black barbarian is still very powerful, but your third brother will definitely win." Zhong Fei patted his chest and promised. Chen Shi rolled his eyes, then looked at Liu Bei, only to see Liu Bei looking at Xu Jiazhuang with joy. He was not a general fondness for fierce generals, and a barbarian like Xu Chu was in line with his hobbies from all angles. Chapter 55 The Han Dynasty Tilda. After more than half an hour, Zhong Fei ate and drank enough to sit on the edge of the crater with a snake spear and wait for Xu Chu to come out. "Wu-en, a man, you dare to fight on foot, swords and guns have no eyes, let's compare fists and feet." Xu Chu didn't ride a horse this time, and his tone was not as rushed as before, but it was obvious that he didn't want to bow his head. As for the weapon, he didn't see a handy weapon after looking for a long time in Zhujia's Huang, so he played a trick when he ran out. "Come on, Lao Zhong, I never take advantage of others." Zhong Fei stabbed the snake spear to the ground, stood up and shook his arm, and then saw that his arms and legs were swollen in a circle, and his waist circumference was also larger. "Although I don't know who you are, my father said, if I win, you will let me go with you, and don't treat me poorly in the future because of this matter." Xu Chu patted his chest and said loudly, "Then come on. Lao Zhong, I won't trouble you whether I win or lose." After Zhong Fei finished speaking, he roared, stomped his foot fiercely, and rushed toward Xu Chu. Boom! Xu Chu's body burst out with a black light almost no less than Zhong Fei's, and he didn't dodge Zhong Fei's fist at all, and at the same time, he also clenched his fists and hit Zhong Fei, and the attack of punching to the flesh was the most suitable. Boom! Two muffled sounds like drums in succession. Zhong Fei and Xu Chu each took half a step back, and then took a big step forward, greeting each other with their fists and feet, followed by a series of muffled sounds. Xu Chu's big foot kicked Zhong Fei's chest. Zhong Fei grabbed it fiercely, and was about to throw Xu Chu out with his backhand, not wanting Xu Chu to jump up with another foot and directly kick Zhong Fei's chest, and Zhong Fei was completely chest-tight. "Black barbarian, let you see how powerful I am." Xu Chu saw that Zhong Fei had really hit himself twice, and was confident that even if he was a tiger, he should have lost most of his life. Even if the black charcoal head on the opposite side resisted most of the attack with his internal energy, the rest was enough for him to endure. Xu Chu pounced, pressed his hands on Zhong Fei's shoulders,
directly pressed Zhong Fei to the ground, and was ready to go up to subdue this guy. Ma Zhon may not be his opponent, but in foot battle, Xu Chu felt that his brute strength was enough to clean up any life form acting on land. Zhong Fei was directly pressed into the lurse by Xu Chu's tiger, and the earth that had just been tamped with his fists and feet was directly smashed out of a humanoid pit. Zhong Fei only felt that he was dizzy for a while, and when he came back to his senses, he had been pressed down in the lurse. Seeing Xu Chu riding on him, he waved his fist at his black face to say hello, and immediately became furious, put his hands on Xu Chu's fists, took a deep breath, and roared at Xu Chu, who was about to hit his head with his bald head. Chen Shi covered his ears, and being so far away made his heart beat faster. This was simply a sonic weapon, right? Xu Chu, who was hit head-on, was probably disgusting. Chen Shi guessed well. Xu Chu faced this almost zero-distance roar. There was no way to dodge at all. He really bit the bullet and took Zhong Fei's blow. The whole person was instantly dizzy. But the tiger idiot was a tiger fool, holding on to nausea, against the stomach. The whole head was black light, hit Zhong Fei's head hard, and directly hit Zhong Fei's head into the lurse. After doing this, Xu Chu struggled to stand up, but Zhong Fei, who was dizzy and fell to the ground with dizzy eyes, tried his best to punch him in the face, rolled a gourd, and lay on the ground, lying side by side with Zhong Fei. But the good thing is that most of Zhong Fei's body and head are embedded in the lurse, and Xu Chu is lying flat on the ground. Both of them were dizzy and their ears were buzzing, but their mouths kept going, continuing to spray, and both of them laughed. Xu Chu, you are good. Zhong Ida of Yang invited you to our Mount Tai. What my eldest brother needs to support the Han dynasty is a warrior like you, where there are endless yellow turbans and endless battles. Zhong Fei, who was lying on the ground, reluctantly stretched out his hand and made an invitation gesture. Okay. Xu Chu stretched out his hand and patted the back of Zhong Fei's hand, and then laughed. I believe you, a barbarian, will not see the wrong person. After Liu Bei stayed overnight in Zhujiasuang, he took Xu Chu and Xu Chu's brother Xu Ding and more than a dozen strong men with tiger backs and bare waists, and he didn't know what Zhujiasuang ate for these people. Just looking at the figure was not pressed by Zhong Fei. He was really a strong man with a tiger's back and a bear's waist, and the patriarch of Zhujiasuang also agreed with Liu Bei that once Mount Tai was stable, the entire family would be moved over, and it seemed that he was completely attached to Liu Bei. After that, there was no major event. Liu Bei rushed all the way back to Mount Tai with a few people, which was his residence. Although the world was in chaos now, even if it was overdue, no one would hold him responsible. But Liu Bei, who retained the only ore for the Han family, did not want him to destroy the remaining rules in such a trivial matter, if even his clan did not abide by the laws of the Han family. Then who else would abide by it? Even in order to keep the last fig leaf for the Han family, Liu Bei would not allow himself to touch this clean rule that seemed to have been broken. The clan itself existed to protect the Han family. Even if there was a fight within his own family, he would not allow others to intervene, just like Liu Biao. Obviously the internal instability was unstable, but for the banner of the Han family. He dragged the army to kill the Jiangdong tigers in one blow. Is Sun Gongtai dead? Liu Bei looked at the information in his hand, because there was no professional intelligence transmission system. After Dong Zhuo, who was far away in Chang'an, knew the news, Liu Bei's news had just arrived. Isn't it the same as we guessed before? Did the random arrows become a sieve? Chen Shi chuckled and said, someone will carry out any oath to bet. The Han family has not fallen yet. Sun Jian is too rampant. It's not as Sichuan expected. But does Sichuan know who took in Sun Jian's family and soldiers? Liu Bei put away the information and deliberately examined the school. Yuan Shu Bei, only he will help Sun Jian collect the body. Although this guy has a bad reputation, but he is indeed a heroic demeanor. As long as he says solemnly, he will never repeat it. Sun Jian has left a shelter for his family. Chen Shi said with interest, if Sun Jian does not die, Yuan Shu may still take the Jade Seal, but Sun Jian is dead. In Yuan Shu's opinion, the Sun family, which is left with only orphans and widows, has no rival. Even if he looks at the Jade Seal, he will not take it by force. That guy values his own face. Liu Bei smiled bitterly. What Chen Shi said was more accurate than the information he got, and more detailed. Sichuan was really careful, and he actually inferred so many things from Yuan Shu's temperament. Chen Shi didn't answer the question, and after a long time he spoke. Liaoyu's strategy is abolished. Although Yuan Shu is unwilling to forcibly seize the Jade Seal, but he will not let others reach out. In a short period of time, the Jade Seal matter is over. It depends on the choice of Sun Jian's sons. If it is really the hero of the world, the Jade Seal will still fall into Yuan Shu's hands in the end. When Chen Shi said Liaoyu was drinking with Joshu, venting the anger in his chest. Dong Zhuo was too disappointed in him. What ambitions, what courage and heroism were all his random thoughts. In fact, Dong Zhuo just wanted to go back to his hometown to live, and he couldn't take care of anything else. And Liu Biyu, that bastard, lost more than 10,000 elite horses, and now others are actually more vigilant when they say it. Liaoyu now can't wait to seize an opportunity to kill Liu Biyu. This bastard is not with them at all, if it weren't for Liu Biyu's strength being too strong, and there was a Bingju wolf rider to protect him, and there was no fault. Once the extermination failed, Dongzhujuan might no longer have peace. It is not difficult to kill Liu Biyu, the difficult thing is how to block Yo-Yo's mouth. Liu Biyu has become a banner of Dongzhujuan since he entered Dongzhu's army by relying on his amazing force. If there is no reason, just because of a suspicion and cut it down, it can be said that it is a big joke in the world. It is estimated that not only Dongzhujuan will be unsettled because of this, but also the princes of Kwantung will also applaud. Come on, when he drinks. Liu handed the wine glass to Joshu with a bitter face, and in front of Joshu, he never needed to pretend, just say whatever he wanted. Joshu didn't speak, just drank with Liu. What the other party said he listened to in his ears and remembered it in his heart. It was precisely because he was good friends with Liu that he clearly knew what kind of situation Chang'an was like now. It can be said that if there was no Liu suppression, it is estimated that the entire Chang'an has been completely chaotic now. Bingju Wolf Rider and Shiliang Wolf Rider are not pleasing to each other. Liu Biyu and Shiliang generals are not pleasing to each other. Dongzhuo guards Yunwu every day and constantly loots wealth, and the whole Chang'an is in chaos. Liu often thought of his original ideals. When he saw the chaos under the city of Chang'an, listened to the screams of his wife and children, his heart was extremely cramped, and his disappointment in Dongzhuo gradually turned into hatred. He was born in a poor family. He wanted to change this era of monopolization of all wealth and wisdom by the family, and he was ready to sacrifice when he made a grand wish. Not only to sacrifice others, but also to sacrifice himself. But now looking at the human tragedy under the city of Chang'an, Liu asked himself, has the lives of civilians changed? Yes, but unfortunately it is not that he has been delusional that he has become better, but has become worse. The exploitation of the family will create a separation of wives and children, and there will also be rare meals all year round, but that is only a minority after all. Think about it, before Dongzhuo came, at least Chang'an still had the ability to whitewash these tragedies under the rule of the family, and also knew that the disaster year released grain and porridge, at least it looked peaceful. Now Dongzhuo has torn off all the whitewash, so that the tragedies of those scenes have occurred on a large scale, and the entire Yongju has fallen into this tragedy. The wife is separated, the son is eaten, Chang'an has become hell, and Liu is the creator of this hell. He once wanted to end the family's monopoly on wealth and wisdom, and was also ready to sacrifice, but after seeing these tragedies now, Liu no longer dared to imagine what kind of road was ahead for him. Although the road of reform is covered with corpses, and the bones that finally fall before dawn must be the reformer's own, but at least he can feel the warmth of the light. But now Liu can no longer see the slightest light on his way forward, and there are only scenes of human tragedy as far as the eye can seek. Is this the path he seeks? No. Definitely not. Chapter 56 The Rich Man is finally here. Chen Shi looked at the city wall in front of him, watching the only few officials in Fenggao go out of the city to greet him and others, and immediately sighed deeply. This is too poor. I didn't see a fat man when I looked around. The Taishan thief was too good at making trouble, and he didn't know how to raise sheep in the wool, and the poor had something to grab. Standing in Fenggao's office, a gust of wind blew, and a layer of floating soil fell on the beams, and when the official warehouse was opened, even the rats in it were empty. Xuandagong, this Fenggao is really poor enough. Chen Shi spread his hands helplessly and said, one is poor and two white. But this is fine, there is no need to worry about anything, as long as they can eat, these people are willing to do anything. It's really poor. Sichuan is ready to take over this stall. Liu Bei said with a wry smile. He thought that Taishan would be poor, but he didn't expect Taishan to be so poor, and the whole city was stunned to see a brightly dressed guy. These are not troublesome, there will be news in about 3 or 5 days. I originally thought that Zhong Shiping and Su Shuangling could arrive earlier than us, and I didn't want to arrive yet, but this is good, we are not short of money and food. Xuandagong still opened the warehouse first to release grain to relieve the victims, told them that in 3 days, we would build water conservancy, renovate the city, and tell them to give food and pay for work. Chen Shi looked at the official warehouse that didn't even have a mouse, shrugged his shoulders and said, he has no money, but there are so many people in this world that they are willing to pay for technology. In that case, I will implement it now. Liu Bei patted Chen Shi on the shoulder and said, I'll leave everything else to you. In the next few days, Chen Shi handled government affairs leisurely, although it seemed to be casual, but there were not many mistakes or omissions. After all, the general direction was right. For Chen Shi, as long as he tells the officials under him what to do, the people below will fill in it, and then write a plan and hand it over to Chen Shi for review, tinker with it twice, and the strategic plan that combines the long-term vision of the time traveler and the actual situation of this era will be completed. It is precisely because of this that although it only took a few days of effort, the entire Fenggao government affairs platform was set up, and all government affairs began to be dealt with in an orderly manner, and the poor people in the city, who were half bandits and half people, were also sorted out by Liu Bei and began to exert their due value.
Zichuan, you seem to be fine all the time. When Jian Yong was busy drinking tea, he found Chen Shi dozing off. I have solved the general direction, what to do, how many people are needed in which place, and how to manage these are not my business. What I have to do is to formulate a framework. Chen Shi said with his head half closed and said, for Jian Yong's good temper, coupled with the informality of Liu Bei, Chen Shi didn't bother to pay attention to his demeanor. Zichuan, haven't you been saying that those who can work harder? Even Zilong has been pulled to deal with government affairs. Why are you still in the mood to sleep? I always feel that you seem to have no energy during the day. Jian Yong said half persuasively, half helplessly. That's not what I said when I assigned the task. You all looked like schadenfreude. Chen Shi opened his eyes, picked up the teacup and took a sip of tea. I not only have to deal with Orns, but also deal with reclamation, disaster relief, refugees, build city defenses, quickly raise taxes, find out the population, prosper commerce and a series of other things. When Chen Shi was assigned the task, Chen Shi waved his hand and said that he could carry out a regulation plan in the general direction, and then everyone was happy to let Chen Shi take care of it, and the result became like this. Chen Shi spent 5 or 6 days to deal with everything, and the rest of the time was sitting in the government affairs hall watching Jian Yong busy handling political affairs. Of course, Zhao Yun did not get better. All the details of the Tunchen were handed over to Zhao Yun to deal with, but it seemed that Zhao Yun was quite difficult. Chen Shi deliberately mentioned it several times, but the result was still dead or alive. And it took a lot of time to modify and barely passed. Who would have thought that you would finish 3 months in 5 days? Jian Yong was obviously a little crazy. He was busy with work every day, and then watched his immediate boss leisurely drinking tea. Is there still humanity? It's you guys who are too slow. Chen Shi is a little wilted. Doing nothing is also quite torturous, especially when he can't leave the government office with nothing to do. There are always some guys who can't understand what he writes, although he can understand every word, but he doesn't understand what's going on at all when he is connected. Zichuan. Jian Yongqi's beard jumped and jumped. Originally he came to Taishan from the plains as Liu Bei's friend to help, but after he came, he saw what was called a demon, which was simply a big blow. Newspaper, Chen Juncheng, Zhongshan Su Shuang, Zhong Shiping asked for an audience. Just when Chen Shi was about to continue to flirt with Jian Yong and Zhao Yun, a herald came in and bowed and said, "It's finally here. Fortunately, if we slow down, we won't have enough food. It seems that I can finish everything today." Chen Shi smiled and said, "Xian and I are going to deal with my affairs." After Chen Shi left, Jian Yong finally felt calm in his heart, turned his head to look at Zhao Yun, who was continuing to review things about Tunchen there, and asked, "Zilong, why are you so silent today?" The military division is not comparable to us at all, although he is not very old, but he is really a genius. He has done a good job in the general direction of these things we have dealt with, and it is more for us to be familiar with the handling of government affairs, thinking that even without us, he can finish all the work within 10 days. Zhao Yun stopped his brush and sighed and said, the more familiar he was with the government affairs of Tunchen, the more Zhao Yun felt that Chen Shi was tempering him. Xuanda asked me to look at him not to let him work too much, for fear that he would be exhausted to death, but I'm not worried about this kind of thing at all now. Maybe those things can tire us to death, but I may not really take Zichuan to heart. Jian Yong shook his head and said. Chen Shi walked out of the gate and bowed, and said with a smile on his face, "The two of you are finally here. Xuandagong has been waiting for a few days before this. Not long ago because of the Taishan bandits to inspect the counties. The two of you are willing to wait here for a day or two. I think Xuandagong will come back soon." When Chen Juncheng is a big gift, how dare the two of us dare to hinder the major affairs of Duke Xuanda? Brother Zhong and I came from Zhongshan this time to hear that Mount Tai was short of food, and we were willing to offer 100,000 stones of grain and grass to support the great cause of Duke Xuanda. Su Shuang's voice can really be described as loud, as expected of being smashed out with money, and throwing a lot of money is not enough to explain the current performance of the two. 100,000 loads. Chen Shi still recognizes Su Shuang's courage, worthy of being a wealthy businessman in Zhongshan, although he cannot enter the 4 major wealthy merchants at the end of the Han dynasty. But he is also a well-deserved rich man. Ming people don't speak secret words. I took 100,000 loads of grain. I wrote the prescription. You should have tested it, otherwise you won't come back. As soon as Chen Shi opened his mouth, it was obvious that Su Shuang and Zhong Shiping were obviously relieved, not afraid that the other party would ask for more things, but afraid that the other party would not accept anything, asking for prices all over the sky, sitting on the ground to pay back the money, nothing more than that. Since they received the grain, there was a talk. And it was not in vain that they spent a lot of effort and favors to quickly collect a batch of grain and grass and transport it over. Chapter 57 Generous Conditions tilde. The two of us have indeed verified that recipe. It is really a technology that benefits the world, although the two of us are Zhongshan horse merchants, not good at the salt industry,
But after all, there is something in common with business, and we plan to buy land in Qingju to operate the salt industry. Su Shuang laughed and did not hide it. After all, this can be described as a book of profits, and it is the kind of material that is necessary in the world. Maybe the horses will be unsaleable, but the Han dynasty has never heard of salt being unsaleable in 400 years. Chen Shi tugged covertly. What is called a place where business has something in common? You completely want to pit people with your own money, even if the salt merchants in other places don't even want capital and you can lower the price. You can make money. This kind of industry is basically equivalent to grabbing money. As long as you are not assassinated, technology is not stolen. Even if the Han dynasty salt industry is squeezed down, it is not a problem to form a monopoly in the end. I think you also know how much profit there is in this industry, so don't think about it all for you, and you don't think that when you are all raided and enslaved, the person in charge will be cut in half and abandon the body. Chen Shi said something that would make all businessmen hair when they thought about it. I don't want to. Zhong Shiping said a little timidly, and then wiped his sweat again. Isn't being a businessman all your life just to leave some family foundation for future generations? Even if the descendants are unworthy in the future, they can be defeated for 1 or 2 more days, and it can be regarded as my ancestors doing their best for them. Chen Shi raised his eyebrows and looked at Su Shuang and Zhong Shiping. These 2 guys are not stupid, and they will actually pull the family affection of their descendants in the future. Yes, it's not easy. How many things people have done today must be planned for future generations. Since everyone has the same mind, let's go into the court and study it carefully. Chen Shi made a pitiful expression, saying that everyone was planning for future generations. Chen Juncheng, please. Su Shuang and Zhong Shiping obviously sent a sigh of relief. This kind of splashing wealth in front, both of them couldn't grasp their mentality, and it was inevitable that their thoughts would be exposed. Chen Shi smiled and turned around. Zhong Shiping and Su Shuang were also in full swing. For the ancients it was indeed a splash of wealth, but for Chen Shi it was basically not feeling. He was melancholic now about paper. Chen Shi yawned and took out a roll of white cloth from under a pile of bamboo slips and threw it to Zhong Shiping and Su Shuang. Before the 2 of you came, I was bored and had almost made the contract. If there is anything you need, or just point out the unsuitable places, we can discuss it again. Su Shuang and Zhong Shiping took the white cloth and began to browse, and after reading it roughly, they breathed a sigh of relief. Looking at the names on it, they were not as arrogant as he thought, and they were not as domineering as official business, and each one was reasonable. However, Su Shuang and Zhong Shiping are a little entangled in the penultimate 2 or 3. One is the division of the salt industry, that is, the regulations that stipulate where they buy, and the other is that the channel merchants and consignment sellers under their jurisdiction need to be registered. As for the last regulation, the final custody and interpretation power of the original regulations lies with Chen Shi Chen Zichuan, the county magistrate of Taishan County, although this is not very clear. But isn't this taken for granted? I didn't write it out before. This one was also written. It's very face-saving. Chen Juncheng. We don't understand this penultimate article. Su Shuang thought for a long time and still didn't understand, so he pointed to the penultimate and said, "Oh, this is to let me know who you sold the salt to. Let them sign their names and press their handprints, and I can also help if something happens." Chen, she said casually. Su Shuang and Zhong Shiping frowned a little. Wouldn't this show all the veins under the noses of the officials? In case something happens, it is easy to be served in a pot. Don't worry, there is no idea to serve you in one pot. What I want is only the internal sales channels of the Han dynasty. As for you outside the Great Wall, of course, we have the right of first refusal to exchange for the things we exchange, and what I want is not the final allocated channel. Chen Shi saw Su Shuang and Zhong Shiping frowning slightly, and thought for a while to explain. What I want is only the first 3 layers of channels. That is, you sell salt to the big salt merchants in the states. These salt merchants need to sign, and then the big salt merchants in each state will send the salt to the prefectures and counties. And the salt merchants in the prefectures and counties need to sign, and then the salt merchants in the prefectures and counties will be sent to the counties, and then they will not be used. Chen Shi looked at Su Shuang and Zhong Shiping and said, as soon as these words came out, it was obvious that Su Shuang and the 2 were relieved a lot, and what they wanted was not their own sales channels, but the channels of the distributor. As for you worrying about me, I can make the salt you sell become official salt, so that as long as you don't break the law, no one will touch you. This is my bottom line. When he said this, Chen Shi's face was much more serious, and he almost said, if you don't know each other, I will change people, cut the 2 of you, and release this technology, and a large number of businessmen will come. Su Shuang and Zhong Shiping looked at each other and nodded slightly. The current conditions are already very favorable, and if they continue to be uninteresting, they may really not be able to eat mutton and cause trouble. Okay, then I'll sign it now. Chen Shi saw Su Shuang and Zhong Shiping eager to try and spoke. Okay. Su Shuang and Zhong Shiping nodded. Each picked up a brush and signed their names on the white cloth, and then directly bit their thumbs and pressed a handprint on the white cloth without using ink. Okay,
I originally packed this copy, I will sign it now, and then stamp the handprint, you keep it yourself. Saying that, Chen Shi took out another piece of white cloth from under a pile of bamboo slips, took out a brush and signed his name, dipped his thumb in the ink and pressed a fingerprint on it. You compare with each other. Put it away if there is no problem. Chen Shi also handed over the copy, asked Su Shuang and Zhong Shiping to compare it with each other, and after making sure that there was no problem, the three of them put away their own shares. Chen County Governor, 100,000 loads of grain and grass were transported in 2 parts, and the first batch of 20,000 loads were sent to Fengao by land within 3 days, and as for the next 80,000 loads, Jin Jiahui sent them to Qingju along the coastal road, and then transferred to the Yellow River into Jinan, and transported them to Taishan County by land. Please remember to receive them. Su Shuang and Zhong Shiping held a copy of the contract in their arms with red faces and bowed to Chen Shi. Zhan family. Chen Shi nodded. I think you are probably in a hurry to go to Qingju to buy land and prepare for salt production, and I wish you two a lot of money here, and you don't want me to stop you. Thanks to Chen Juanqing's good words, the two of us will not stay here for a long time, and the 2 housekeepers of Zhong and Su will come to hand over other things soon. Su Shuang and Zhong Shiping were obviously a little eager, and after getting what they wanted, seeing that Chen Shi let him go and said almost nothing, he hurriedly bowed his hands and left. Chapter 58 Plan Ahead. After Su Shuang and Zhong Shiping left, Chen Shi began to drink tea again. Anyway, this is the case at this time. Even if you have done all the government affairs, you still have to wait until the time to leave. As for what you do during this period after completing the task, it doesn't matter, as long as you don't violate the etiquette. Chen Shi still maintained the good habit of taking a nap, and fell asleep in the government office with his head propped up, until he was woken up by Jian Yong, who finally completed today's government affairs. Oh, it's time, isn't it? Chen Shi yawned and was about to leave, but was grabbed by Jian Yong's shoulder. The time hasn't come yet. Jian Yong dragged Chen Shi over and pressed him on the main position. It's not until 3 o'clock yet. Then what are you doing waking me up? What can't you deal with? It shouldn't be. There are some small things left now. Chen Shi said with half-squinted eyes, like Guan Eri's expression, looking arrogant, but in fact he didn't wake up at all. It's nothing, I just want to see the contract you and Zhong Su signed. Jian Yong shook his head and said, you have done the big framework and goals, we are just filling in the details, and there is nothing that cannot be dealt with after you make it clear. Well, it's on top of that pile of bamboo slips. You can reach out and get it. What are you telling me to do? Chen Shi opened his confused eyes and looked at Jian Yong blankly, and then woke up so sleepy that he didn't even have the intention of losing his temper. After getting Chen Shi's permission, the family took the white cloth and began to watch, nodding slightly while watching, until he saw the last 1, 2 or 3 before he began to frown. Chen Shi, who began to wake up after drinking a cup of tea, looked at Jian Yong and asked, if you have any questions, just say them directly. Chen Shi yawned and said, it's good to sit with such an informal scribe. If you sit with a nobleman among the scribes like Chen Kun, if you do this, it is estimated that the other party will be able to pounce on you and say that you look down on him. Let's not talk about the previous ones, they are all some ways to deal with it and the distribution of funds, but I can understand the last 3, but I can't understand what you want to do. Jian Yong looked up and said, oh, just fill in the first ones, the last 3 are important. Zilong, listen to it, you should be able to use it in the future. Chen Shi turned his head and said to Zhao Yun, who was still handling government affairs there. Zhao Yun raised his head, took the white cloth handed over by Jian Yong, glanced at it roughly, and then raised his head again, intending to listen to what Chen Shi said. It's nothing, the penultimate is to avoid letting the 2 of them eat up the entire market, and by the way, to prepare for the penultimate one, the penultimate is to install some manpower to all levels, and when there are more industries to intervene in the future, cross-insert, plus single-line contact, we will have a safe and usable intelligence network. Now make do with it, it's much better than catching blind like before. Chen Shi said with a smile on his face. The information from Liu Bei's side about Sun Jian's death came too late, and someone deliberately passed it on to him, and he knew, otherwise he really didn't know when he would know, and what a good opportunity to plant spies or something. Well, it's a good idea. It's hard to get noticed because of the certificates from the upper level of each state and county. As for the single-line contact, Jian Yong couldn't go on anymore, and gestured to Chen Shi with his eyes. The previous layer does not come forward every time to contact the next layer in a special way. As for what is the special way, you can think about it casually. As for reporting the news, it is also connected in a special way. That's almost all, anyway. Just let them not know the upper and lower levels. Chen Shi shrugged his shoulders and said, then how can you be sure that the information is transmitted from the lower level to the upper level? Although Jian Yong may have a certain gap with those famous ministers of the 3 kingdoms, he is not a fool, and he instantly noticed the disadvantages of this method. Outsiders know that the existence of outsiders is mainly to determine whether both parties passing the message are correct and to deliver the message in some extremely important situation. Chen Shi said with a smile, but this is only one chance, and after that, regardless of whether it is exposed or not, I will go to another place to work, or be transferred back. When he said this, Chen Shi was very solemn and serious. This method is wonderful. Zhao Yun's eyes flashed with a flash, and before he could speak, Jian Yong had already spoken for him. Oh, since Xianhe thinks it's wonderful, then leave this matter to Xianhe to deal with. Chen Shi casually threw a baggage to Jian Yong. Zhao Yun snickered. Jian Yong looked depressed. He shouldn't answer the question. According to Chen Shi, since you have understood the importance of this matter, and the mystery of the method, then leave it to you. Zhao Yun lay down once before, and this time Jian Yong lay down again. Of course, the last one is the most important. After Chen Shi drank a cup of tea, he said solemnly, the last one is the foundation above. Whether it is intervening, or the two sides are not compatible in the future, or we want to change people, the last one is to let us stand on the righteousness. Ha! Zhao Yun and Jian Yong both frowned and looked at Chen Shi, and finally Zhao Yun asked, but the right to interpret? Well, the so-called final right of interpretation means that I can interpret him as I want. I say he is black, he is black, he is black, he is black, anyway, I don't mind letting them spit it out with interest. Chen Shi casually said words without conscience. This will cause a lot of trouble, and it will be very troublesome for us to find businessmen in the future. Jian Yong said with a wry smile. He didn't feel bad about Chen Shi's style, he just felt that Chen Shi's method was a bit damaging to his reputation. Don't worry, the great Confucian can understand. Chen Shi curled his lips and said. Jian Yong looked at Chen Shi speechlessly and said, just kidding, at least this aspect can show that we have no moral problems, and the problem is only because the businessman read too few books, that's all. Chen Shi casually kicked the fault on the businessman. Zichuan, stop joking, be honest, you understand what I'm trying to say. Jian Yong frowned and said. Well, I understand, let me say first, as long as the businessman does not betray us, I will not use that final interpretation right, and once I use it, I will add this to the law. Chen Shi yawned and found what he needed from a pile of white cloth in the letter. Jian Yong looked at it for a long time and sighed. Zichuan is worried that others will take advantage of it and block the road directly. He laughed and handed the white cloth to Zhao Yun, who was sitting aside. You should say that I am preparing for a rainy day. How can I say that I am also to govern the people, and the province will be taken advantage of when the time comes? Chen Shi shrugged his shoulders and said, it feels really boring, and I don't know if General Guan and General Zhong have figured out the approximate location of the bandits in Mount Tai. Chapter 59 Taishan Bandit Strategy. Hua Xiong chopped off Chang Shi's head with a knife, turned around and swung his knife to kill all of Chang Shi's so-called henchmen. And when he came, Chen Shi told him that some of these Taishan leaders were local tyrants, and some were rangers who were forced to fall into the grass as bandits. However, Hua Xiong naturally did not give this guy a chance to reveal his name, a third-rate commodity who was approached by the master of the internal chi separation level, and his head was chopped off without his last words. Before Chang Shi's men could figure out what was going on, Hua Xiong's big knife stabbed the ground. Listen, from now on, I will be your boss. Reporting for Boss Chang Shi. A guy with a big waist and a big beard seemed to react at this moment, and rushed towards Hua Xiong with a loud roar, but he saw Hua Xiong swinging his knife from a distance, and the whole person was directly divided into two pieces. Who else wants revenge? Hua Xiong said with a sinister smile. No one, that's good, listen to me, from now on this uncle is your boss, my name is Hua Hu. Remember that Mount Tai is our territory after that, who dares to say anything? Lao Tzu cut him with a knife. Hua Xiong roared fiercely, and the person in front only felt a tinnitus, and there was a gold star in front of him. Boss Hua. I've seen Boss Hua. According to Chen Shi's arrangement, the support that was inserted in advance, after everyone was shocked, responded loudly as if they suddenly reacted. People were blindly obeyed. With the first, naturally the second, and the third all appeared, and then there was a raw one after another on the hillside. Okay, the boss will take you to rob other robbers and tell me where the other bandits are? Hua Xiong roared loudly. Hua Xiong roughly knew the previous confusing answer, so he said loudly, let's go back to the cottage, light up the soldiers and horses, I will let you see what a robber is. After Hua Xiong returned to the cottage, there was another slaughter, a group of bandits in the absence of no one to command, only knowing that in the case of Yang Chong, it could not have any impact on a master who left the body of internal chi at all, and then wantonly promoted his subordinates, and placed his group of subordinates on a high position, and then basically rectified it completely. Hua Xiong took out the tips written by Chen Shi from his arms. There was no clever plan, just let him do what he did and what to do, recovered a copycat, and came down to train according to the tips written on the bag. Hua Xiong looked at what was written on the white cloth with some tangles. There was no accurate training method, only one goal and a hint. The goal is very simple. Train the people in your cottage to be fools. What do you say? Their brains don't react. Their bodies have already done it. The prompt sentence is, don't treat them as human beings. There are no difficulties. Create difficulties, and train to death. Of course, in the end, in order to show his compassion for others, Chen Shi still added, I am here to give the bandits a chance to change their ways, but also to let those kind people not be bandits. Since they have become bandits and want to whitewash, maybe they just need to surrender to other princes, but I must let the bandits understand their original mistakes. Hua Xiong hardly understood the whole piece of nonsense, but he still knew the goal, and he also knew the hints, training. Since the military strategist said that he was going to train to death, then he would train, anyway. It was not his soldiers, it was some bandits, and he would die if he died. Obviously, Chen Shi is completely different. His death training is a mantra, but when he arrives at Hua Xiong's place, he really dies. Since he is a bandit, he didn't take it as a person, and he died more than 100 times on the first day. The next day was a bit of a military appearance. On the third day someone couldn't hold on, pulled out and buried. On the fourth day there was a mutiny, 300 or 400 died. Hua Xiong arrested all the people back and continued training. The military division said that he would train for a month, and then pulled out to clean up the Taishan bandits, and then rested for 3 days and then trained, and the cycle was repeated for 6 months. Well, after 20 days, Hua Xiong suddenly found that these bandits under him were more comfortable playing formations than his men, but it was obvious that these guys didn't understand formations. But Hua Xiong only needed to say how about that piece and how about other places, and all the bandits were instantly controlled as if they had been beaten with chicken blood. And he also found that these guys didn't seem to be like the beginning of the days. Today someone ran away, tomorrow someone ran away, and no one was making a fuss to kill Hua Xiong. What Hua Xiong said during training, there was no delay in the slightest. Since these guys are so obedient, Hua Xiong did not deliberately continue his extremely inhumane training. For example, climbing a cliff with a 300-pound boulder on his back. How much time is not enough to have food or anything, and the daily meal is considered full? Well, for this reason, all the bandits are extremely grateful to Hua Xiong, which makes Hua Xiong extremely unnatural, and he is not used to it. And he leaks some benefits from his fingers to these bandits, such as adding meals or something. Chen Shi didn't see this scene. If he saw it, he would definitely convulse. This is simply a large number of Stockholm Syndrome patients. But this is also a mistake, using the wrong way, but it has achieved the goal. In other words, if it is done in the 21st century, it will definitely be destroyed by humanity. Hua Xiong continued to train like this. He has now trained the bandits extremely smoothly. There is a pit in front. Hua Xiong said that he took people to fill it, and someone immediately jumped down, not because of reverence or anything. It was entirely because he was trained by Hua Xiong as a conditioned reflex. What Hua Xiong said they didn't go through the brain at all, the body would obey directly. And the shadow of death forced this group of people into elites. It is a bit exaggerated to say that it is elite, but to say that the order and prohibition are definitely first class, definitely not comparable to the general team. Hua Xiong said to change the formation, then even if there is a knife in front, the formation will be changed. This group of people has made Hua Xiong's training stupid, and under some kind of mental illness inadvertently caused by Hua Xiong. This group of people actually instinctively support Hua Xiong. Chen Shi naturally didn't know that because of his wrong understanding, Hua Xiong abruptly trained the bandits to become the most commanded and obedient troops in the world. But even if he knows, there is nothing he can do, although he knows that this is a mental illness and knows how to relieve it, but he doesn't have so much time, so much energy, and another he is bored. There is something wrong with it. As long as Hua Xiong doesn't say anything, who knows how this group of soldiers who support him was trained? Besides, if it is cured, isn't it self-destructive? In this era, who cares about such trivial matters? Giving food is already considered a good person. At least Hua Xiong has let this group of bandits change their ways. From the perspective of the people and the perspective of the bandits, Hua Xiong has done good things, so there is no need to correct. Ida went to Taishan to find Zijian and asked him to arrest Sun Guan for me, and he actually dared to rob the food. I haven't cleaned them up yet, and they actually provoked me. Chen Shi said indignantly, he didn't clean up those bandits, he just used the facts to let them go down the mountain to be ordinary people. I didn't expect Sun Guan to be so ignorant, and dared to rob his grain and grass, 80,000 loads. If he hadn't let people lead the troops to escort them, he would really let Sun Guan rob them. Chapter 60 Indoctrinate Liu Bei. Zhong Fei left, looking at the excited look on his face. Chen Shi knew that 80% of this guy would have a big fight in Mount Tai before he would come back. The next day, Liu Bei came again, looking at Chen Shi who was leisurely drinking tea in the government hall. Liu Bei was no longer worried that Chen Shi would be tired to death. He understood. How much trouble was in this guy's hands was the time to frown. He believed what Chen Shi said on the road. Political strategy is what he is good at. Zichuan is bored again. Liu Bei asked with a smile. He hardly deals with government affairs now, except for the right to promote or punish his subordinates. Other aspects are basically for Chen Shi to watch and do. He spends more time among the refugees to select people with good physical fitness and then train them. So far it can be regarded as a bit of a look, but these more than 10,000 recruits are really just the same. Canals, wells, roads, and city walls have been renovated everywhere. And finally more than 100,000 people are calling to do everything in place at one time, and a lot of things can be saved in the future. Chen Shi pretended to take out a scroll of letters and said while reading them, although he also knew that Liu Bei knew his personality, but he was still used to pretending to be in front of his boss, and he couldn't go too far. Jian Yong snickered on the side, snickering at Chen Shi's expression of pretending to read the slip, and the slip was taken backwards, and he was still reading. How Zilong Tunchen is doing may meet Sichuan's requirements. Liu Bei asked. He was still not at ease about Zhao Yun's ability. After all, it was not easy for a person with such high martial arts skills to want to contribute to political strategy. Probably the only person in the world who can compare with him on the Tunchen is one hand. Chen Shi said proudly, and he basically doesn't have a steady win. This is not Chen Shi's bragging. After all, Tunchen is a new thing at this time, although someone has done it before, but after the renovation of Zhaoji, it is basically a different thing from the previous Tunchen. And now Chen Shi informed Zhao Yun of the Tunchen order of Zhaoji that he knew, and let Zhao Yun watch the modification himself. Zhao Yun's intelligence is not bad, although he has not seen this nascent military settlement model, but he can see the good and the bad, and he will naturally analyze this Tunchen order from his own perspective. According to Zhao Yun's own words, this Tunchen order is indeed a way to quickly accumulate national strength, but is it a bit excessive? Is it a little ruthless to the common people to divide it into 5 or 5? Chen Shi didn't bother to explain to Zhao Yun that after the 5-to-5 split, the people would be better off than before. After all, the middle class was directly killed, 30% of the land tax, 50% of the land rent, and only 20% of the annual seeds could fall into his own hands, which is why the Han dynasty was not short of land, and it was still necessary to starve to death. As for the 5-5 pairs that Chen Shi said, it was still divided according to the average of the output given by the spot check, and there was no private tax. Chen Shi guaranteed that even if he encountered a small disaster, he would at least not starve to death, but Zhao Yun had to fight with Chen Shi, and he himself couldn't argue with Chen Shi, so he was indignant and took a group of men to collect information, and he came back a few days ago. I have to say that field investigation is indeed extremely necessary. Zhao Yun found that what Chen Shi said after more than half a month of research was actually true, and the 5-5 pair could even mix through the disaster year. Is there any reason for this? So why did the Yellow Turban Rebellion occur before? When Zhao Yun came back, he held a gun, his face was gloomy, and he looked like he couldn't argue this time, so he opened 2 holes for Chen Shi, and debated with Chen Shi again with a gun, from the tax system to farming, from the yield per mu to the disaster year. For an hour, even Jian Yong was shocked, and never found that Zhao Yun could say so much. In the end, Chen Shi shrugged his shoulders and said that the matter of Tunchen was handed over to Zhao Yun to solve, and he didn't need to show him the laws and regulations. In this way, Chen Shi sent Zhao Yun away, although he could find a lot of loopholes in Zhao Yun's Tunchen order, but Chen Shi preferred to believe that Zhao Yun would notice those things himself. Of course, it would only be discovered with the passage of time and field investigations, but it was undeniable that he had taken his own steps. Listening to Jian Yong talk about what happened before, Liu Bei sighed. There is nothing wrong with the decrees of the Han dynasty. What is wrong is that there are always people who take advantage of loopholes, and there is no shortage of talents in the wealthy families, but they use the wrong direction. There will be loopholes in any decree, it's just a matter of how much. After all, the Tao changes with the times, and it is normal for the golden laws of the past to not conform to the present, and it is important to keep pace with the times. Chen Shi said helplessly. Chen Shi found that he had to instill something new in Liu Bei. If he kept holding on to the remnants, even if he unified the world in the end, he would be a Guangwu emperor. What he wanted was the courage of Qin Huang Han Wu to chase the north, and what he wanted was the kind of ambition that was enough to coerce the entire era and point to the world. Emperor Wu of the Han dynasty was exhausted, and in the end, the Liu family was still the master of the world. 400 years of long years, even in the Three Kingdoms era, the western regions, outside the pass was still the Han dynasty as king, and the 4 directions were vassals. The rise of Guangwu represents the gradual dissipation of the martial spirit of Ning, bowing to the family, lowering again and again until the last habit, having forgotten the original spirit of the Xiongnu are not destroyed, how to be home, and forgetting the determination to endure humiliation and bear the burden and avenge the shame. To be honest, Chen Shi was not afraid of Emperor Wu of the Han dynasty, even if he was unstable in order to clean up the domestic public sentiment fought by the Xiongnu, and even there was a popular uprising. How could it be so? At least there are more than 100 years of recuperation time after that war. 100 years, 100 years. What is there to worry about in exchange for 100 years of cultivation time? In the late period of Emperor Wu of the Han dynasty, there was instability in the people's hearts, but the Xiongnu were basically abolished,
saying that if you want to cultivate your life and rest, you will see if the Xiongnu are willing, and during the reign of Emperor Wu, they were not worried about such things as invading the border at all, and then Emperor Xian of the Han dynasty continued to cultivate and recuperate and reached a prosperous era. That is to say, the trouble caused by Emperor Wu was not great, and it was stable to be stable. And to put it too much, after Emperor Xian of the Han dynasty, there was a ruthless man at the level of Han Wu, and then the cycle went on, which was basically equivalent to the world's wool harvesting operation, and the Han dynasty could eat all of Asia. Look at Guangwu again. After Guangwu, the relatives of the family were in power, and there was no super ruthless person to suppress the family and relatives, and the family became more and more powerful for more than 100 years, until they peaked at the throne, and finally played the Han dynasty to death, and it was not stable, and the whole tragedy was a tragedy. It is precisely because of this that Chen Shi would rather come out of a poor uncle Liu Huang than let him take the old road of Guangwu. At least the old road of Han Wu can be passed as long as the money and grain people can withstand it, and Guangwu's old road is completely a dead end, and in the end, even if it is not the upper grade has no cold gate, the lower grade has no gentry, it is estimated that it will not be better there, after all. The essence of the family is shelved there, and there is no strong suppression. Sooner or later there will be problems. With this idea, Chen Shi now has something to do when he meets Liu Bei, and he instills some domineering, royal way, heavenly way, etc.